Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Woo.
Here we are.
Thursday, we've got just a couple of days to game day. Big one this weekend.
Huge one.
Big. They're all big.
Are you available?
They're all big.
You available to play? Or?
I mean, if this one's big, then this is the least big of the four.
No, it's the biggest because it gets them to 10. We have said all year it's a race to 10,
No,
right?
9. It gives them the 9.
It does?
It's
They're 8 and 5.
Oh, shit. All week I've been thinking this is the one.
I'm thinking, wait a second, is my math wrong? Wow. 8-5.
Yeah.
It's still big, and here's why.
They're all big.
It's the next game on the schedule.
Of course.
I think when you look at the four that's remaining, and we're going to talk about this not just today, but the rest of the 4 weeks that lie ahead, you can make a strong case for the Browns winning all four, and there is an argument, I'm not going to say strong, but there's an argument to be made that they could lose all of them.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
I mean, I think you said it yesterday, they're all winnable, and they're all losable. So you can't put any in the bank.
I said before the show, I was chatting with Earl and Mike and Anthony. I said, the Browns' disparity is as big as it gets. Like, the Browns could lose, not even make the playoffs. I don't think that's likely, but with all the injuries they've had, you can't say it's crazy that they couldn't make the playoffs.
Well, there's 5 teams that are a game behind them.
Right. So it's not crazy.
That's
crazy.
It's not crazy that they could miss the playoffs. It's also not crazy that they could go to the Super Bowl. Like, either of those things.
Well, the 1 seed is still in play.
I mean, neither of those things are highly likely, but they're both possible. And I guess you could say that about a few teams, but
Well, look at the Eagles.
don't
They
know.
went from the 1 seed. Where are they now? The 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're still going to make the playoffs.
They're going to make the
obviously.
playoffs,
Right.
but imagine you go from the 1 to the
Right.
5 by losing a game.
And they don't have an easy game this week. They're playing Seattle.
And I think due to the injuries, you know what's really on the table now too? Coach of the Year is on the table. And
without question.
I didn't think about it. An extension might be on the table too.
Jason said give him an extension 3 weeks ago.
if-
I thought that was a little premature.
But if he does, if they could get in with this ragtag group
Yeah.
of misfit toys
That's
that
what
they're
it
going
is.
to drag into the playoffs, I got to give them
much
Browns
more
are-
discussion to come on that.
Browns are second in the league in players on IR, only behind Houston, and most money on the IR, number 1.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you look at the players that are on Houston's IR, there
Yeah.
are some guys you don't know.
Yeah.
When
There
you
are
look
some
at
guys
the-
that most fans wouldn't know on the Browns IR, but
there's some
True.
superstars on
But
there.
contributors, like it's
Like-
guys that
Yeah.
that we've had as major contributors this year. Aditi's here, Bernie's here. Big event tonight. You guys explain. You know more about it than I do.
Go ahead, Blue.
yeah,
I'm in the building though.
No,
too.
we're going to be tonight. We're going to the Rock. I keep wanting to call it the Q, of course.
right,
We'll be in there at Caesars, and that's where we're headquartered. So head into the Rock. If you're confused to where to go, ask somebody. They'll tell you. Everybody on the show, Jay can't be there tonight, but everybody else is going to be there. You see all the happy faces. Everybody's smiling.
We're pulling up.
Right? It's going to be me and G and Tyvis and Jason and Earl and Mike and Anthony. We're going to be there from 7 o'clock until whenever the Cavs game ends. Now, remember, the Monsters are at home tonight, and they always do a good job putting on a show there. The Monsters will be home, but we'll also be watching the Cavs game. They're in Boston. That game starts at 7:30, but we'll be there 7 till whenever the Cavs game ends.
Oh, it starts at 7:30.
Right, but we'll be there at 7. The game starts at 7:30, and we're going to do a rotating bunch of all of us in and out between being on air because we'll be if you can't get there, it will be on YouTube, and then we'll be schmoozing with the fans that come to see us. So
Mingling,
we'll all kind
as
of
they
rotate
say.
out. It's going to be fun.
Kissing babies, as you like to refer to it.
Yeah, no kissing babies.
No actual
fist
there's-
bumps, a lot of elbows.
First of all, if there
fist
are
bumps.
babies in the casino,
It doesn't matter. It's 21 plus. You got to be 21 plus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No
we've got a
babies, bull,
serious
you're
issue
safe.
if there are
You're
babies
safe.
in attendance.
No. Look,
I'm not hearing Mike. Is anybody else not hearing Mike?
I'm here, Mike.
Okay.
Now, the best thing about this, I believe this is a FREE event.
Oh, yes.
Correct. And
That's-
you get free tickets for showing up.
Just look, bro. Look at this. You get a free event. Like, this is guys If you didn't get your girl nothing for Christmas, bad on you. You could get her. You could smoke screen her right now and say, "Babe, we're gonna go out and see the guys.
We got a big night planned.
Big night planned. Get a bottle of that Boone's Farm and cap that boy off at the rack.
And for $5, you got a great date.
Great date.
I mean, there you go.
We're going to be giving away, as Mike mentioned, we're giving away Cavs tickets, right, Mike, to everybody who shows up?
I was told by the good people at Caesars
really?
and the Cavs that if you show up, you get 2 Cavs tickets to a future game as well.
So not only is it free, we're paying people to
That's
come.
right.
Yeah.
We're giving away
Essentially,
tickets.
yeah.
I mean, what's the value of an average Cavs ticket? $60?
Somewhere in there.
I don't know. Yeah, we're also
So
giving away
it's
UCSS
like
t-shirts.
$120 value to show up.
I mean, it's got to be worth at least $500 to meet us.
If we don't get 5,000 people out there tonight, I would be disappointed.
Yeah.
You're giving away free tickets.
G, are you bringing any Kool-Aid Mafia swag?
Yeah,
'Cause we're
I
bringing
got
some
some
UCSS
stuff.
swag, too.
I got a couple things. I got a couple of rally flags, a couple things. I also got some barbershop wristbands. You get a complimentary VIP barbershop
Are those the
wristband.
very popular color?
Yeah, and one is a glow in the dark. One's an orange.
Oh, I need one of those.
Yeah, they glow in the dark.
That way I
we're
can
also
find my
giving
way
away
through
some
the-
Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show T-shirts. And
What we're saying is this is a big
It's
extravaganza.
going to be a lot of fun tonight.
I mean, it's an extravaganza.
If you live anywhere in the vicinity, you're getting 2 free Cavs tickets to come hang out with us. Like, we're so uncool that we're giving away Cavs tickets for you to hang out with us.
That's crazy, right?
So
It
there's
is
no
nuts.
excuse not to show up. No excuse.
I didn't know that. I mean, guys, if I were you, I would anticipate. Do we have security, bodyguards for these guys?
That's what Anthony's here for.
Wait,
we
Anthony's
need
the bodyguard.
Daryl. Is Daryl coming?
Let me text Daryl.
Daryl was our bodyguard
Daryl was
at
our
the-
bodyguard
at the
at
tailgate.
the
Listen, you guys are crazy to think Daryl wouldn't show up.
He came to my party.
We could hold a barbecue on a train track and Daryl would show
That's
up.
true.
Daryl's is one of our biggest
Daryl
fans.
is our bodyguard. He was that when we went to the.
He's a big,
the
imposing
tailgate.
guy,
yeah,
too.
He's huge.
Yeah.
And so
he's got the voice of God. All he has to do is say, "Step away from the ball," and people will start running.
He has a very, very nice wife. I met his wife, his kids. He brought all of them over to
His
the party.
brother's a great guy.
He came to G's birthday party.
engineer,
Daryl's
right,
the man.
he
Yo,
did.
Daryl's our
Really?
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Daryl's a guy.
Daryl was
Also,
it.
if anyone's looking, it's the Sherwin-Williams entrance. Just that's the easiest
Okay.
way. When you get to the Rock,
Sherwin-Williams
the Sherwin-Williams entrance. You
entrance.
can't miss us. Come upstairs. Come hang out with us.
Now,
We
the
got-
only way this could be better is if you could get free admittance to the Monsters game. Is that going to happen?
that is beyond my knowledge.
never know.
No
You
idea.
never know what's
but
gonna
Show up
happen
and
as the day
show
goes
up and
along.
find out.
Yeah.
Just
If
accident-
a night
you
full
don't
of
get it for free,
surprises.
we apologize in advance. We're just saying it could happen. Who knows?
Could just magically
I mean,
wander
these
down there
free
to the
Cavs
ice.
tickets just materialized.
Out of nowhere.
And
So-
let me make something very clear real quick, just so we're off the hook.
Yeah.
We put in the chat. So if you're watching, Anthony put the link in the chat. The link is to Caesars, which promises the free tickets. That is not coming from UCSS. That is coming from Caesars.
All right.
We are giving away barbershop swag, UCSS swag, but you can see the link in the chat. That is where you get your 2 tickets. Make sure you guys click the link. Show up.
Oh, so you won't get them when you get there.
It says you show up, you get 2 tickets. But I'm
Okay.
just making sure you guys know that is not us promising.
Yeah,
That
bring
is
your phones,
Caesars
click your
promising.
link, and click on
So
the link
it
when
should
you
be
get there.
super easy.
That's a great deal.
By the way-
I mean, who wouldn't want to go?
We should mention, we don't really ever give them any mention, but the Cleveland Monsters are in first place in their division.
Well,
Who else
there
in their
you
division?
go.
Who else in their division?
Syracuse,
They're tough.
Erie,
Syracuse Crunch, I believe
I'm
it
just
is.
guessing right now.
The Rochester Americans.
Altoona?
The Toronto Marlies, I believe.
Overrated.
Then BEL, I don't know what that is. UTC, I don't know what that is.
Got a
and
lot of
LA.
guys out. A lot
Utica.
of guys out.
Is
LA.
Yeah,
See,
Utica. Well, Utica's tanking
Oh,
right
Utica,
now.
I should know that.
They're
That's right.
tanking. They're
Utica's
going for the
tanking.
number
You
one
can't
pick.
12 games in
yeah,
that.
yeah.
They have
How
29
do you
points to
tank in the
lead the North
AHL?
Division. So there you go.
Yeah, the Monsters' best player, Scooby-Doo, is unbelievable. I would highly recommend checking him out.
That's
The
not
left
nice.
winger,
Why you
killer.
gotta be dead?
Don't disparage the Monsters
that's
like
not
that.
right.
The Monsters are good. They're in first place.
You're
Have
talking
you
about
been to a
Scooby-Doo?
Monsters game, Mike?
Who's on that
Anthony-
line?
I went
Bugs
with
Bunny,
Anthony to a
Scooby-Doo?
Monsters game last year.
They were
I will
terrible
tell you,
last
I'm
year.
not much of a hockey fan, but
Oh, live, it's awesome.
hockey in person is the best.
Unbelievable.
What
It
it
really
is.
And they do a great job down there.
They do. It feels like a big time show.
It really does.
I mean,
They
it
do a
does. And
nice
the product,
job. Yeah.
the product between this level and the NHL, the trained eye obviously can see it. But if you're a hockey fan and you go, are you not entertained?
It's
as they
quality
say?
hockey,
It's
yeah.
quality hockey
Yeah.
and well done. All right, McNuggets, what else do we got? What business do we have to take care of before we dive in?
Not much. We're going to start with some unfortunate injury news. And as always, our first topic of the day is brought to us by FanDuel. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay red hot on FanDuel. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than right now. The app is easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL.
Mike, we have a record for everything, these days. I think we've broken the record for most consecutive days with you saying the Browns have unfortunate injury news. I mean, I think you've said that like 13 days in a row.
And the thing is, I haven't lied yet, which is terrible.
True.
And yesterday we got news that Grant Delpit, we knew he was hurt, but he's officially headed to the IR. Kevin Stefanski said he may be able to return for the playoffs. That's still TBD. And Ogbo, kudos to him for playing the second half of last week's game against Jacksonville with a torn pec with essentially one arm.
Fairly early.
Yeah, it happened in the second quarter.
Yeah.
And so he played. He went out for a little bit.
Our
came
photographer,
back.
Sean, had a great angle of it. I don't know if you've ingested that video.
I haven't seen it yet. I'll look for it.
Great. I mean, you see he tugged on the quarterback, had it pulled, and you immediately see him grab it. And he can't, he knows it's bad, and all of his teammates are saying, get down, get down, get down. He played after that.
Yeah, he's a warrior. The Browns, they've dealt with incredible amounts of injuries, but these guys are tough as nails, and we've seen guys play through stuff that most wouldn't. But I hate asking this question because it's cliche, it seems silly, but with all the injuries that have continued to mount up for the Browns this year, is the team cursed?
Oh, Mike.
Bull doesn't believe in curses, so you can't
He also
ask
doesn't
that.
believe in smiles, puppies, and rainbows, but I still have to ask the question.
Yeah, no, it's not cursed. It's bad luck, and that's really the only way you can explain it. When you look around the league, there are teams that have similar number of injuries. There's only one that has more. I think what's hit particularly hard is because all these injuries are to contributors. They're all the guys that you don't want to miss on the field. It's just bad luck. You can try to say, well, it's the fact that you can't hit anymore. Neither can the other 31 teams.
Right.
You can try to say that it was an early bye week. Yes, the Browns did have an early bye week, but there have been teams that have played 9 weeks in a row without getting a bye that haven't suffered this kind of attrition. I think the only way you can, and I know a lot of people are trying to say the strength coach isn't doing his job.
Oh, stop.
I mean, it's just one of those things. It's a fluky thing. Injuries are like spinning a wheel.
Go ahead, Boo.
It's just, it seems ludicrous at this point. It's almost like you got to laugh to say, like, this is silly. But the good news is, I'm going to spin this in a positive way. Myles Garrett showed improvement clearly last week from the week before. He's your most important defensive lineman. Yeah. You have him. Your linebacking core right now is very healthy and playing pretty well. Okay? Juan Thornhill's injury doesn't seem to be a long-term thing, so hopefully he'll be back. Denzel Ward, even if he's not back this week, he's obviously getting close, and he's your most important guy in the secondary. Joe Flacco's playing well at quarterback. Nothing's changed at running back. Obviously, you'd want Nick Chubb, but the running backs, nobody else has gotten further hurt. I know Ford got banged up a little, but he's probably going to play. Amari Cooper's getting healthier. Your tight end position is fine. Yeah, okay, your left tackle and right tackle, but they were both out last week, and you played pretty well. So, yeah, there's been a lot of injuries. Yes, they've mattered. Yes, if you had Nick Chubb and this guy and that guy, it'd be better. But this is one of these wacky, crazy seasons. It would make sense that the one time the Browns make a deep run in the playoffs for the first time in forever would be a year where everything on paper says no chance. Happens sometimes. I know another team that went to a championship round when they had no business based on their roster. How about the 2016 Cleveland Indians? Their pitching staff was ravaged by injuries. It was ridiculous.
Fewer injuries, they're probably World Series champions.
No doubt.
I mean,
certainly possible.
They missed some big quality starts in that series.
They essentially had 3 viable pitchers that whole World Series: Cody Allen, Andrew Miller, and not Shane Bieber, and Corey Kluber.
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah,
it was basically it. The rest of their rotation, you were holding your breath with rotation. The rest of the pitching staff, period. I thought along the way, you thought, oh, they're going to lose to Toronto. They're going to lose to, I can't even remember who they played in the first round now. They did it. It was a weird year. They got to the World Series. Crazier things have happened. The AFC, there's been a lot. These other teams don't have as many injuries as the Browns, But a lot of these other teams have key injuries too.
Is
There's
anybody-
nobody that's that good in the AFC.
Is Minnesota now the only other team on their fourth quarterback?
Correct.
Yes.
Minnesota's on number 4 as well.
That's crazy.
You know, I woke up today, fellas, and it's a little cold out, and I woke up and my range of motion in my neck wasn't that good, and I'm like, okay, man. So it took me a little while to warm the right arm up, and I'm going down getting my clothes on. It took me a little bit longer to put the hoodie on, and like that's a football life. Like listen, when you sign up to play football, you make a deal with the devil. You really do. Any orthopedic surgeon, any trainer will tell you if you ask them, and I'll ask Bernie Kosar later on today, he knows it. When you sign up to play football, you understand that you can die on the field, you can be injured permanently, you could be paralyzed.
You can lose movement, yeah.
You can lose, you can have an injury that ends your career, or you're going to deal with something that gets you the rest of your life. And it doesn't have to be just NFL guys. It's countless college guys or high school guys who've had the same thing happen. That is what the game is. And a lot of fans, and sometimes the media and some people who just enjoy the game don't realize what they sign up for because it's so entertaining to watch these guys play. It is part of it. It is almost like bye weeks or winning and scoring touchdowns. It's bred, it's baked into the game. So when somebody says we would have been doing this if it wasn't for injuries, no, you can't say if it wasn't for injuries. That's the only thing that is guaranteed is you will be injured. It's just about when in your career you're going to have it.
And how bad.
And how bad it's going to be. So all these injuries here, these guys, it's not the strength and conditioning coach. Nobody, no matter how much strength Nick Chubb has, and he's one of the most physically imposing, intimidating, gifted athletes I've ever seen.
With the strongest lower half of anybody in the league.
You put a helmet on somebody's knee when it's playing it, you're blowing that ligament out. It just is what it is.
Yep.
The pectoral muscle, they tell you when you're tackling, when you get anything outside the framework of your body, it's gone. Torn triceps, all of that. So they know what it is. And I think for a lot of them, I feel bad for them. Because it's just knowing that you got to go through that level of rehabilitation. I heard what Maurice Hurst said. Maurice Hurst, man, we got something special going here. I'm sad for the fans. However, when you see your people go down like that, the guys behind them now have to take that mantle. Your comrades are falling. You pick the flag up and you carry it as long as you can carry it.
That's right.
And that's the model you got to have. Now they got to have some young guys. Alex Wright, Siaki Ika. There's linebackers. That Fields is going to have to play.
One man's injury is another man's opportunity.
That's your chance. And think about it. We said it yesterday. How many of those individuals have been sitting at home and their family been waiting? Yeah. Hey, you think you're going to dress this week? Hey, you thinking we're doing special teams this week? Yeah. You can't tell me.
And they're hungry.
They're hungry right now. And you're hungry on a team that you know can be in the playoffs. That's a great opportunity.
And it'd be a chance to be a contributor.
That's a great opportunity.
And you know what, guys? Here's another positive spin on it. The Browns may have the most injured players. The guys who are filling in, it means the Browns have the most guys who have played less, which means they're fresher.
There it is.
And
they got
also,
a lot of fresh players.
Those guys will have more experience when the playoffs roll around.
Yep.
Obviously, these games are all big. But you said yesterday, when you start playing against teams that don't have noticeable weaknesses, like it's fine when you're playing against Chicago. Mm-hmm. It's fine when you're playing against teams that you should beat on paper.
Right.
But when you see a team, one thing I can promise you, whoever does get the ticket punched in the AFC, they are going to have won the battle of attrition. There's 11 teams vying for those very precious 7 spots. That means 4 really good teams aren't going to make it. But that also means all of the teams that make it are survivors.
Yep.
They don't have weaknesses. They have depth. So it's really going to become apparent when you start lining up left and right tackles that are not good, when you start lining them up against teams that have waves of pass rushers that can come at you, and you can't get help from a tight end or a guard on a particular one-on-one matchup. So they're getting experience now, so when the playoffs roll around, they're battle-tested.
But, Jay, I don't think you said the teams that make it are not going to have weaknesses. They are. I mean,
they will, but they won't have the glaring
be as many as the other teams that are not making it.
They're the teams. Right now, there's a mountain, and there's 7 flags to be planted in that mountain. And there's 11 teams that are 2/3 of the way up that mountain and can see the path to the top. There are teams that are 7-6 that are a game out of the first playoff, the wild card spot.
A lot of them.
So what that means is, whenever you have a lot of quality teams, the path to a championship becomes more difficult. We talked all season long about how difficult it was going to be in the AFC and how there were no good teams in the NFC. I saw 3 or 4 different power rankings yesterday. Not that they're the end-all, be-all, but most of them had the top 3 teams in the NFC.
I don't think anybody thought there would be no good teams, just not as many good teams.
We sat here and said, man, to be in the NFC.
Well,
look at the quarterback gauntlet you have to go through to get there in the AFC.
But everybody thought Philly and
San Francisco, I think, were the 2 teams.
Yeah.
But right now in the playoffs,
Minnesota and Dallas were there. I think Dallas kind of jumped up, and they haven't had many.
I believe in Dallas for the first time in forever. We'll see if they can prove it in the playoffs.
I believe in them until the playoffs roll around. They always do something.
They got to they'll have to prove it, obviously, like a lot of other teams. But to your point, nobody in the AFC has clinched yet.
No.
Nobody.
And that's
we have 4 weeks
telling.
to go.
Yeah.
And but not a single team, not even Baltimore, who's got the number 1 seed right now. It's not clinched.
And the Browns we talked yesterday, there's a pathway for the Browns to get the number 1 seed. There's a pathway for them to miss the playoffs.
I would not want to play. I just wouldn't want to play these 7-6 teams. Like, think about it. Like, if you're a team who you have your quarterback, if you're Baltimore, don't you just want to be like, can we fast forward this to the playoffs? Like,
sure.
If you're Patrick Mahomes, and can you say, because we've already lost our quarterback. We've already lost our best playmakers.
Baltimore's the only team in the division that is currently playing their starting quarterback.
Yes. So you got them and Mahomes, and then obviously the Dolphins. If you're those teams, you have to be thinking, let us just get to the playoffs just without no injuries. Because if you look at the Browns, the Bengals, I wouldn't really want to play the Bills either because they still got Josh Allen. But if you're playing the Cleveland Browns, they have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Nothing.
House money, really, when you think about it. I mean, I know we had playoff expectations, but we all sat here and said they were going to be 9-8 before the season started. We all, I can't remember what you had. Yeah, but I think for the most part, we were all like 9-8. They're going to be a bubble playoff team. They win this weekend. They're at 9 wins. One other thing I wanted to throw out there real quickly. There's a melt that someone sent me yesterday of Myles Garrett plays from NFL Films. So there was sound on it.
He was mic'd up, yeah.
Oh, my God. They put
awesome.
like 14 plays in a row. And literally, the sound, it's the initial collision, as you know, at that point of contact on the offensive line. Mm-hmm. The grunts and the absolute volume of the sound of the collisions of 2 massive men with strength and speed coming together, play after play after play. When I see melts like that, it really does drive home to me just how physical and violent that position in particular can be.
Meanwhile, I hear the word melts. I think of Melt, the grilled cheese place,
I knew
I'm hungry. You're making me hungry, Jay.
Yeah, I probably should have explained. It's an industry term. You've heard of it.
Yeah, I knew what you meant. We're going to drop it in the chat.
No, I knew what you meant, but I still thought of Melt.
It's 5 minutes long, so I don't want to play it.
That's where your mind goes.
I do have a question for you guys, and we're going to drop the Myles Garrett Melt, which for you guys is a little montage.
Do we have it? Do we have it pulled?
It's 5 minutes long.
Yeah, it's long.
So we're going to drop it in the chat so you can watch it.
But it's so good.
It's definitely worth your time. It's worth the 5 minutes. And Myles Garrett's a cool dude. But we talked about the guys going to IR. That's only half the Browns' issues. They had about 12 guys not practice yesterday who are still game-time decisions. These are just 6 I circled because they're important players. Denzel Ward, who did practice, but he's not cleared yet. Jordan Elliott still dealing with a concussion. Pochich with the stinger. Thornhill with his calf. 2 running backs, Ford with the wrist, Hunt with the groin. Let's take Ward out of the equation because we thought he was going to play last week. He didn't play. They're still waiting. It's a mobility issue with his shoulder. It's not a pain thing. But of the 5 guys under Ward, if one of those 5 couldn't go against Chicago, who would be the biggest loss for the Browns as they get ready to face a Bears team that's won 3 or 4?
You guys. I would say Hunt, just because he's proven to be the short yardage. I mean, think about the drives he's kept alive with 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. The goal line situations, what does he have, 7 touchdowns?
Yeah, I think he might be the best short yardage back in football. I'm not kidding.
Listen, I know Bull always says efficiency, efficiency, efficiency. He's the guy, in baseball terms, that you would bring in to steal a base late in the game that's 1 run. Like, it doesn't seem like it's a critical spot.
It's huge.
But if you don't think it's critical, ask the Boston Red Sox how big Dave Roberts' stolen base was. He wasn't a guy that ever, and nobody would have picked him as the most important guy on the roster. But you can make an argument that that first World Series doesn't happen if they don't have him deep on their bench. And so for me, I think it is Hunt because those yards that he churns out are invaluable at moving the sticks, controlling the clock, keeping drives alive. And most importantly, the exclamation point on a drive, the Browns were challenged in the red zone last year and this year without Hunt. But I think that I don't know where they rank in terms of red zone scores, but by my eye test, I feel a lot more comfortable when Hunt's in there.
You had the Liam Neeson conversation. And
that was so good. I missed it during
dope.
overtime yesterday. Your Liam Neeson was so good.
You weren't here? Oh, you were upstairs.
I was upstairs, but kudos.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite
Sorry, I didn't
movie
mean to cut
scenes.
you off, but that was really good.
Well, the Liam Neeson thing, it brings me back to today, and when he says he has a unique set of skills.
That's
and
exactly
Kareem
right.
Hunt got a unique set of skills where he's kamikazeing through there. He's a tornado. Like, you got 2 yards, he might go over top of you. You got 2 yards, he might run through you. And you could tell it takes a toll on his body because after these hits, there's not, you know the kind of mindset you got to have going against 8-9-man boxes, and he won't be denied on the goal line. And I don't know if this could be something other teams use, but I do believe since in the league now, the refs are getting so good at one thing. They know where you be down at. Them little touchdowns 10 years ago where you down at the 3-yard line and they give it to you anyway.
Yeah, not
ain't
anymore.
Nobody getting that out. They'd be like, whoa, you're down at the 4, young man. You were stepped out. So now, them yards, you got to really get that. So I'm wondering in the league, will you have a short yardage back who is like, hey, we expecting you to run through guys and get these little touchdowns, especially if you ain't got a team.
Who else is going to do it on this roster?
So you're picking Kareem Hunt also?
Yes.
So as soon as Mike asked that question, for the entire time as you guys were talking, I was paying attention, but also it was going around my mind like a 3-way tie, and Hunt was one of the 3 guys. Juan Thornhill was one of the 3 guys, but in the end, especially because you guys already made the argument for Hunt, it's a good argument, I'm going to go with Ethan Pocic because the Browns' offensive line, obviously, tackle's been a mess because they've had injuries.
Yeah.
But the one thing they've had all year, or almost all year, is the middle of that line has been there. Petonio, I think, missed 1 game. I don't think Teller's missed any. I don't think Pocic has missed any.
Time, but not games.
Right. And so that quality, and it's probably the best guard-center guard combo in the league.
Wow.
I mean, it's right there.
I don't know because I don't study the other ones.
I don't
like
either,
it.
but-
I like it, and you're right. When you think about the problems we've had on the wings, thank the Lord that we've had
That's
stability
right.
in the middle.
And I think that's so important. Not to mention, you got Joe Flacco. He hasn't played in a year. Is getting used to taking snaps from Pocic.
And that's important. That quarterback center,
and especially because he's under center all the time.
Yeah. The only reason I would say I would have pause on that is because remember, Pocic is a replacement to a guy the Browns already had penned in as a starter. So if not Ethan, you've got Harris in the wings,
but who's
proven to be a pretty good center. He's played.
I don't agree with that. I don't think he's proven that. I mean,
I do. I think he's.
How many games has he even played?
But you know what? When he's been in there, he's invisible, which is what you want an offensive lineman to be.
Yeah,
and at one point he was the starter. If not Hunt, who?
But he wasn't. He was the starter only because they didn't think they had anybody else at the time.
Well, they
I don't
made
know
a
that
move.
He earned the role, but I just think right now on this team, the middle of that line is huge. And so I'm going to go with Pocic. But obviously, there's a great case to be made.
Who is the short yardage guy if Hunt can't go? Because I watched the way these guys run. I don't know.
I don't even know is John Kelly still on the practice squad?
It's Nick Harris, fullback dive, or DTR.
It's DTR.
No, but I mean, I know that there's a difference to me between 4th and inches, 4th and and 1. When I say short yardage, I mean 3rd and 3 and in.
The answer is
and you're not going to give the ball to Nick Harris on a 3rd and 3.
They don't have one, Jay.
No, I know, and that's why for
they haven't
me it's
trusted
Kareem
Pierre
Hunt.
Strong. We've seen Jerome Ford have opportunities, have not come
Their
through.
running styles don't fit that mold.
You're right.
You called him a kamikaze. That's a great word for him. Those guys that are they're warriors and they are sacrificing their body. And I love how angry and violent and determined he runs in those situations. When we talked to Kareem at the event around Thanksgiving at Town Hall, the one thing that you could tell he takes great pride in is the fact that I want the ball in that spot. I am going to get you the couple of yards that you need, and they're going to have to basically kill me to keep me from getting either the first down or the touchdown.
He is such a big part of it. Just the heart. He's such a huge part of the team, man. It's just like you can see it. Like when he got back in here and they got an opportunity to get back playing, it was just like you felt the team be rejuvenated. Like they was like, that's the impact that we need. I wanted to ask you guys a question because we talked about the tackles. Going into the playoffs, when you only have one game, you're playing must-win games at that point. At some point, do they look at it? They threw a smoke screen at us earlier. At some point, do you say Joe Bitonio left tackle, Nick Harris at guard, Poaches at center, and we'll have one bad tackle in Hudson and figure out if he can figure it on the right side?
I don't think so. I think if they were going to do that, they would have done it already.
I don't think the playoffs is the time to experiment with that. They have tried it a little bit with not much success.
I think they, at least they have that strength in the middle. And why weaken your left guard immensely? Yeah, left tackle, even Bitonio not used to playing left tackle, he did it a little while, a couple of years ago, would probably be better than Christian, but I think the gap between him and Christian at left tackle is not as big as the gap between him and Nick Harris at left guard. And Nick Harris is not really a guard anyway. I think he'd probably use Michael Dunn more than Nick Harris. No, Michael Dunn's hurt. I can't even think of their backup guards right now.
Well, they're in a situation where they just don't have a lot of healthy bodies.
I mean, Garrett Christian's played okay.
Yeah.
I think he's played okay.
He's not been totally horrible.
No.
No. We just need to get.
It seems like he's had some penalties in bad spots, putting us in 1st and 15, 1st and 20.
Hudson has to. He can't have pre-snap.
No.
The good news is this week the Bears do not have much of a pass rush.
No, they don't. That is good news.
Oh, no, they got Montez Sweat.
They have him.
Yeah, but when you look at their team numbers, they're not among league leaders in getting after quarterbacks. You mentioned the early starts. Lomas Brown told me this once. Later in his career, his role was as a mentor, and he would tell young tackles, particularly left tackles, he said the propensity to move early was when they knew they were outmatched. Mm-hmm. They were trying to get that, particularly in passing downs, they were trying to get that from position A to position B where you're swung out and you're back a couple of yards. And they knew they were outmatched, and they were nervous about it, so they were trying to get the advantage. Yep. And he would just say, just in those situations, you don't move until you see them move. And forget about the ball, forget about the snap count. You know when they move, the ball's hot.
Right.
And you're just going to have to make up for your deficiency with quick feet.
That's it. Crazy. You're right. You move when they move. And guess what? If they move and it's false start,
it's okay. It's the penalty.
That's on you.
Yep, you drew them and you get the flag.
We're going to talk a lot about the Bears' defense tomorrow and the effect Montez Sweat has had on the Bears' defense, so that conversation is coming. We're going to spend some time on Justin Fields, how the Browns have to slow him down. But if you're watching in the chat, hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already.
Yeah.
Do us a favor. It's free, and you would be amazed at how much a simple click of the like button, a thumbs up, does to help UCSS get out to everybody in the world, bringing the best Browns content, the best Cavs content, Guardians, Cleveland content to anyone who's not currently in Cleveland who wants it. So do us a favor. I would appreciate it. A personal thank you from McNuggets. Just hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and do us a favor. Guys, the Browns have struggled against some mobile quarterbacks this season, and Justin Fields may be as mobile, if not more mobile, than any quarterback in football. He leads the Chicago Bears in rushing yards this season, despite missing a few games, which shows how often he's willing to scramble, how effective he's been. If you were Jim Schwartz, if you guys, and G, we'll start with you, if you were trying to figure out a game plan, a strategy to stop Justin Fields, both in the passing game and the rushing game, how would you do it?
Justin Fields, to me, has been playing a little bit better. But like any other quarterback, Justin Fields becomes a regular when he has to decide in the millisecond where the pressure is coming from, what they're doing, and having some sort of plan to keep him contained. Justin Fields, when he's doing planned runs, see, there's a difference between planned runs that are going to get you yards and scrambles. To me, the planned runs that get you yards are more dangerous because off those planned runs, you now have other things you move to in your playbook. Maybe it's now I'm going to do RPOs. Now I'm going to set it up off the screen. Now I'm going to throw it quick. Or now all those things are great because it's within the schedule of the plays. I'm not necessarily worried about him running around trying to make plays because at the end of the day, we love that. That's when your strip sacks come around. That's when you get guys putting the ball. That's when he's loose with the football. That's when he's throwing against his body. That's when he's throwing without his base being set. I love a quarterback, especially a younger quarterback that wants to move around and make plays because it gets excitable. It's just like having a check on Friday when you're young. You get that check, you be forgetting, man, I got bills to pay. You be right at the mall. They're like, yeah, I'm out here creating. No, you're not. That's when it's, no, you're not. Listen, and think about this. Even when Trevor Lawrence, right? Same draft class, I believe, right? No, one after the other. Even when Trevor.
Same draft class.
Same draft class. Even when Trevor Lawrence last week was trying to create, what did it look like? He was throwing off target. He was throwing the football. Guys throwing the ball up for chance. 3 interceptions. I like that type of energy. So if it's me, go ahead. I invite him to run around a little bit and see what he gives us. Mind you, this is the same Justin Fields that got sacked, I believe, not this last year, but the year before, 10 times or something. Myles Garrett had 5 sacks on him. Now, granted, Myles is a little injured right now, but same thing, same premise works.
And to your point also, Trevor Lawrence, who did struggle when he was getting out of the pocket, is a much more accurate thrower in general than Justin Fields is. So Justin Fields, yes, to me, and listen, DJ Moore has really been great for the Bears. He's having a tremendous season, despite the fact that overall they don't have a great passing game. So he is dangerous, and that's a big reason you want Denzel Ward back. But the most scary thing about the Bears, without a doubt, is Justin Fields running the ball. And as G said, the plan runs. You're right.
I'm not to cut you off. That graphic, bring that back. The graphic where it said all the yards and the touchdowns.
Yeah.
Receiving or against the Browns?
Against the Browns.
176.
All of these right here, these are design runs. I can remember each one of these, right?
Yeah.
The Minshew read options, Lamar Jackson with the misdirection, Russell Wilson when he was pointing it out. Those are all runs that they call.
And those aren't crazy yardage numbers, but you see 5 touchdowns in those 4 games. And the Browns lost. Oh, no, they beat the Colts. They
won 2 and lost 2. But the 2 that they lost, or excuse me, won, could have easily been L's.
Yeah. Those were, right. And so I am worried about Justin Fields and the design runs. I mean, he's, in terms of design runs, he's right there with Lamar, as good as any quarterback in the league at running the ball. But I think you're right. When he is trying to make something happen and running that way, he gets himself in trouble that way. So, but what do they do? Like, we talked about this, I think, the last time when they played Lamar, about having JOK spy him. Is that part? You think that's part of the game plan?
This is the difficult thing. I would love to be in these meetings because Jim Schwartz is probably sitting there saying to himself, okay, we got 2 options here. We're losing pass rushers. Ogbo is out of the game, one of our best. Now, at D tackle, Hurst hurts, but you still got Shelby Harris, who will probably end up starting Dalvin Thompson. Yeah. You got Myles Garrett. You don't have Ogbo anymore. You got Darius Smith, who's been banged up. One of your best pass rushers is JOK.
Yeah.
He's one of your – but do you want to take him out of the coverage? Because one thing he does –
Keep him in the middle and follow him.
Do you want to rush him or keep him back there? Because if you spy him, you do a really good job of making sure that giving some time for your ends to get home. However, if your ends aren't getting home early, he may be wondering, hey, can I go ahead and blitz JOK? By the way, he loves to blitz the safeties too. Delpit blitzed a lot these last few games. He's out now too.
I think Bull's question is actually the answer. The way I look at this game is, I always love how Bill Belichick builds a defensive game plan. Let's look at the other team's hand. Mm-hmm. What are their strong cards? And no question, Justin Fields is their ace. He is the guy that can hurt you. When he's playing well, this is a pretty good offense.
Yeah.
When he's not playing well, he's typically running when he shouldn't, maybe a little too much, and then trying to do too much with his arm when it's just not there. JOK has, and I'm not saying he's a Pro Bowler. I will say this with confidence. There have been times this year where he absolutely has played at a Pro Bowl level.
Yes.
Whether or not his season and his body of work justifies a Pro Bowl nod? I don't know yet. What I do know is I've seen him play at a Pro Bowl level against some really good teams. What he does is particularly kind of the kryptonite to what Justin Fields does. Put him in the middle, use him as a spy to make sure that he goes horizontally on the field wherever Justin Fields goes. And in the case where the pocket breaks down and he decides he's going to run, JLK has one job: be a heat-seeking missile and bring down the quarterback. So I know you lose a little bit in the middle of your defense when you take one of your resources and you pre-assign him for every play, but I think this team demands that kind of attention and this quarterback.
And it'll be also key. Hopefully, both Thornhill and Ward will play, because
fingers crossed.
If you let's say they're using JOK to spy, and let's say the front is not really getting to Justin Fields consistently.
Right.
Well, then the next thing is
cover.
We got to cover.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, if I got Denzel Ward, right, their two biggest threats in their passing game are DJ Moore,
of course.
I'd want Denzel Ward on most of the time. Who's their second biggest threat? It's probably their tight end, Cole Kmet.
Yeah, it is.
And I could use Thornhill's help on Cole Kmet there. So
but
if I have
those guys are out,
if both those guys are out, then then it gets even trickier. But
right.
if you can get both those guys back, then your secondary is relatively is completely healthy except for Delpit. So I mean, he's had a nice year. He's a decent, He's playing. Cole Kmet is kind of like their David Njoku. Like, he's a pretty good player. He is.
And by the way, quickly before McNuggets jumps in here on the whole situation with Justin Fields, he knew that this was his make-it year. This was it. And with the recent changeover in Bears front office and the fact that they're sitting on these incredible resource draft picks, they've got a big, big decision to make.
Yeah.
And I have to say, coming into this season, I didn't think it was going to be a difficult decision. I had not seen enough from Justin Fields to think that this is the guy I'm going to plant my flag in.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was there. Watching him a number of times, their entire games, and watching him very closely, he has really matured as a quarterback this year. He has turned a corner for me. Whether or not he's the guy that the Bears want to say we're not going to take a quarterback with those early first-round picks, that's up to them.
Yeah.
But if they decide to go a different direction with those picks and keep him as their franchise guy, I think I'd be okay with that, where at the beginning of the year I never thought I'd get to that point.
Well, I'm kind of on the fence on Justin Fields.
Right.
And at the beginning of the year, I agree with you. At the beginning of the year, I was like, no.
Yeah.
And now I'm not quite yes, but I'm definitely on the fence. And it is a tough decision because if you believe enough, ultimately, if you think one of these quarterbacks coming out this year is the next elite superstar, then you probably take them.
Sure.
But if you're not sure, then you might as well stick with Fields, because you can get Marvin Harrison and the best offensive lineman or the best defensive lineman. Think about if Justin Fields had Marvin Harrison, DJ Moore. I mean, that's a pretty nasty 1-2 combo.
They drafted a right tackle last year. You could take Joe Alter, the guy from Penn State this year, who's a top 5 tackle.
Right.
Beef up that line. Give him the protection that he needs. If you buy this guy a half second on average for drop back, it changes the entire dynamic of their offense.
And again, I think if we continue, and again, I'm not completely sold. We'll see how the playoff goes. But if things continue to trend a little more towards defense, and now, I don't need an elite quarterback to win a Super Bowl. I just need a good quarterback to win a Super Bowl. Well, Justin Fields, I don't think he's ever going to be elite personally, but I think he could. I think he could land in that good category.
Sure.
And if you have enough talent around him,
You might be able
can
to
win.
win.
It's about
We'll
assets.
we'll get to no fence riders in a
Yeah.
sec, but you had a question about the wide 9 scheme against mobile quarterbacks. We saw when they played the Rams and the Broncos to an extent, McVay and Payton were able to design run plays to counteract the wide angles of the pass rushers. Is that something, and listen, the Bears offensive coordinator and their offensive scheme is not Sean Payton caliber and not Sean McVay caliber. So let's get that point blank out of the way to begin with. But is that an area you think Chicago may look to attack with design quarterback runs as Myles Garrett and whoever's lined up on the opposite of him use these wide angles, maybe not necessarily in traps, but in certain counter formations and ways to kind of take advantage of the space that the Browns intentionally vacate in order to get pass rushes?
Well, one of the things that I look at, and I had to go back and get into my bag of tricks, because I was sitting there looking at the Ram when we saw the Rams and they were using the jet motion and handing the ball to the receiver or reverses in quick little read option plays where it just looks like they don't have assignment football. The ends come crashing down. Quarterbacks is outside of them, getting outflanked. No leverage on the jet reverses and different things like that. See, this is almost like in the equivalent of basketball pick and roll. There's a lot of things you could do off the pick and roll. You could double, you can hedge and get back. That's kind of a little old. You can ice it. You can do a lot of different things, little jargons to kind of switch up the look and the coverage on the pick and roll. My thing as a defender now is if you're Myles Garrett, you have the superstar ability, right? You have the understanding and the knowledge of what teams are trying to do to you. And if you don't have contain, which Myles Garrett does not have contain responsibilities, sometimes you got to mix your look up. They think you're crashing. You take one step down, they think you're crashing. You're athletic enough to redirect to get right back out to where you need to go and make that play.
Right.
It's almost like hedging it. Like, oh, you thought I was crashing down, I'm outflanked. No, I'm not. I just picked the right play. And a lot of times when they got the remote motion coming back behind there, also I look at it the way you set it up is I don't like the way they played in the secondary because the safety has to be in that gap. Safety has to be there as well to kind of, if Myles Garrett does crash down, to make that play. But if you're Myles Garrett, you got to just switch it up. Y'all got the ability to do it. That's something that they're going to try to utilize through the rest of the season. You just have to be like, all right, well, listen, I'm going to just choose. Like, I'm going to just guess. And sometimes guessing works. Sometimes it doesn't. But you got to mix the looks up because right now they feel like you're completely out of the play. You're done.
By the way, in terms of JOK, I just saw this stat. I don't even know how they come up with this number or exactly what it means, but I saw this players with the best run-stopping grade on defense. I don't know how they get the number, but JOK has the second best run-stopping grade of all defensive players in the NFL.
Wow.
So he's...
Is he a Pro Bowler to you guys? I mentioned that at times he's played like one.
I like what you said. I'm not studying guys on other teams well enough.
Yeah.
I feel like he has, certainly many times this year, played at that level. Whether he actually makes it or not, who knows?
I'm going to give it to him. You know why? I done heard too many times in sports where teams play on teams that are playoff teams or they got the number one defensive unit and guys just make the Pro Bowl.
He's got a shot.
Because they're saying, okay, well, listen, you got a great team, you're going to make the playoffs. You're playing on the best defense in the league. Of course they should be in the Pro Bowl. Like, yeah.
I mean, you know what, guys? Whether he makes the Pro Bowl or not, who would have thought we'd be having this discussion a year ago?
The fact we're asking the question when,
This is crazy.
The best linebacker the Browns have had since their rebirth sat on this show and said, I'd cut bait.
And
I'd be done with him.
And it wasn't like he was saying that about players all the time. Like that
DeQuell Jackson was almost never critical.
No.
And he just came right out and said it. Guys, he's not worth keeping around.
Yeah. And think about it, Jay. It's not just him. Jordan Elliott was the same way.
I know.
But Jordan Elliott is not playing at this level.
But
he's playing nicely.
No, but Jordan Elliott is a serviceable frontline guy.
Yes.
And he was a guy last year that we were like, why is he here?
Playing?
Right.
Why is he here? Mike, what do you got?
I actually was going through the All-22, and I came across this JOK run stuff that while we're talking about it for 2 minutes, I want to show you guys. Steve, take tagboard full play. It shows both angles. This was from the Jaguars' first drive. And watch JOK. You see it even better on the backside. Split two defenders and laid the boom on Travis Etienne. You literally can't do it any better than that. JOK's in the middle. Watch him split two offensive guards. He gets skinny. Whoop! Lays the boom. He's been unbelievable against
And that's play recognition. He knew at the time of the snap where it was going.
It seemed like he had no instincts, and now it seems like he's got great instincts.
Well, one of DeQuell's criticisms, I think, was he's thinking.
Yeah.
You don't think at linebacker. You react. And you let your natural instincts take over. And I think that's what he's doing now, and that's probably because Jim Schwartz came in and gave him the license to play freely.
Yeah, hey, man, that
dude, great.
There's no false steps in that. He took his read.
He knew.
He got there. And you know what's devastating about JOK is? Yeah, if you get your hands on him, that's why I say scheme matters. It matters. When they had JOK last year locking up with guards and trying to get off blocks.
Mismatch.
It's a mismatch.
Yeah.
You know Jim Shore says, listen, take your read steps, and now you one-on-one in a hole with a lineman. It's just like playing. It's one-on-one. It's isolation. He can't guard you.
Well, with the quickness, they're not. They
can't.
By the time they realized what he was doing and coming through the gap,
Play's over.
He had the ball carrier on the ground.
That's the cheat code. He doesn't have to engage with you. If he knows where the ball is going, he takes his re-step, he gets there, and it's you and him. You can't block him.
It's almost the reverse of a running back.
Yeah.
He's finding the hole and shooting it, knowing that that's the same hole the running back is going to see, and they're colliding right there, no gain.
By the way,
awesome.
another linebacker having a great season, not on the Browns, but he used to be. Mac Wilson's having a really good season.
Is he really?
He actually
Patriots,
is.
yeah.
He actually is playing very
Wow.
well.
Yeah.
Guys, I also just got confirmation Anthony's off bodyguard duty because Daryl is coming tonight.
Yeah,
So we got Daryl. He'll be
Wow.
out
Love
there
it.
with us at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse tonight,
Can
7
Ant
o'clock.
be Daryl's assistant bodyguard?
Assistant to the assistant bodyguard is Anthony.
I mean, no
Assistant to
offense
the
to
assistant
Anthony, but
bodyguard.
he doesn't look like
Assistant
much
to
of
the
a
assistant.
bodyguard.
I do have a security shirt from when I worked at the bar.
All right.
So,
Wear
yeah.
it. Yellow, black letters.
No, it's just a totally shirt. And it
The
says security
officials
on the
yellow,
back.
black letters. I'll say this: I see Ant in the gym every once in a while.
Yeah.
Like he might be able to push around some of our smaller viewers that think they got a
Jay.
chance to make a run at bull.
Jay,
Anthony, if I was still out in the club, if I was still doing my thing and I was G. Bush, I would be like, listen, I'm going to walk up to you and be like, hey, listen, you're going to give your information to my guy over there. We'll be in contact with
Yeah,
you.
my people. Get in touch with my people.
What do you mean, sir?
Good. I'm glad to hear Daryl's going.
Daryl's coming. I got the confirmation. You guys
UCSS
ready for a little?
Biggest
second?
fan.
He's the best. Daryl's the guy. We're going to play a little No Fence Riders. Aditi's going to come on in about 20 minutes, so we may have to pause. We'll finish them with Bernie. But let's get into some No Fence Riders. Bears, Browns edition. For the record, G. Bush, we sent the questions out yesterday. G. Bush sent his answers in at 10:25 this morning, which
Yep.
means we
G.
already made
Bush.
the graphics and guessed for G. So, G, if you disagree with what you see on the graphic, we have to, you guys, I'm going to give you a challenge to guess if I guessed for G and or just put him on a side to make it more even, or if G really actually answered that way. So let's get to the first one. Will Justin Fields, who we just talked about, have more rushing yards on Sunday than any individual Browns running back? Jay, Earl, Tyvis, and Bull said yes. G, myself, and Jason said no.
I like that. Yeah.
You really did say no.
Yeah, no.
'Cause I would have guessed that you would have said yes to that.
I don't think they do it. You know why? Because I actually think my game plan you'll see coming up tomorrow when we do the headlines. I think Joe Flacco and the Browns, they're unstoppable on first drives. They're getting 7 every week. All they need to do is get a stop and go up 14-0, 10-0. All of a sudden,
Can we win a coin toss once in a while too?
And we'd be taking L's on the coin toss.
Oh my God! It's
get the ball-
unbelievable.
they get the ball at halftime
Every time.
single time.
I don't know what our coin flip rate is of win, but it seems like every week we're getting the ball to start the game.
I don't think, though, G, that even if the Bears are behind, I still think Justin Fields is going to run.
He's a weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of the reason I think he'll have more yards than anybody on the Browns is because even if Jerome Ford plays, he's a little banged up.
Sure.
So I feel like this is a game that Pierre Strong will get a few more carries. And I just think the carries will be split between their 3 backs this week. So I feel like the Browns, and the Bears are much better against the run than the pass. So I don't see anybody on the Browns having over 50 yards, and I think Justin Fields will have in the 50s.
Hunt did not practice because of the groin, though.
Right, he's banged up too.
So
Now,
listen,
if Ford and Hunt don't play, then maybe Pierre Strong will have a big game. But
if you gave Pierre Strong, I'm telling y'all, just listen to your boy one time. You give Pierre Strong 16, 17 carries, he's gonna look good. He's gonna look
I
good.
agree, but I looked at this as I think all 3 running backs are going to be there.
Yeah.
I'm being a little optimistic, but
Stefanski.
Kareem Hunt's been on the injury report almost every week, and he's played.
And by the way, Stefanski's the new Belichick when it comes to fantasy.
Nothing.
Oh
yeah, right.
Don't pick nobody on the Browns, bro. Like this guy, he spreads it out. He'd be like,
Yeah.
let me get the
Browns don't have good fantasy players.
No.
Except for their defense. In my biggest league, my keeper league, I've been using their defense
their
all
defense,
year. They've
yes.
got me a lot of points.
Yeah, can't count on them.
The reason I think that Fields will is, to your point, Hunt being hurt, he's one big hit from being sidelined. And so that's not good. Here's his game logs for rushing yards this year, and he did miss 4 games. He had 59 yards, 3 yards, 47, 25, 57, 46, 104, 59, and 58. Here's what stood out to me about that. Justin Fields made a comment early in the season before he got hurt. Why they putting handcuffs on me? Why?
Right.
And he took a lot of flack for that in Chicago in particular.
I remember that.
And I will tell you that to the Bears' credit, they listened to him. They took off the handcuffs. And after he made that comment, he's gone for 57, 46, 104, 59, and 58. His lowest was 46 yards, including a game over 100. I only bring that up because I think the Bears said, you know what? We are kind of taking away Superman's cape. That is what made Justin Fields who he is and what he can do. So let's see what happens. And if he gets hurt, it makes our decision about what we do with our early draft picks next year easy. We know that that's not sustainable. We don't want a running quarterback. We go back to the well.
Yep.
But to his credit, they've won some of those games. He's looked better passing the ball in all of those games. And as a result, I think his comment kind of backed the Bears into making a decision that is, oh, by the way, worked.
What's his path? What is the path to them winning, the Bears winning a game in Cleveland?
Sunday?
Yeah.
Him having a big day running. Because I think it opens up the pass.
If he has like a 100-yard rushing day, then
we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I think
him with
that's priority
50-something
one.
yards. I got him with 50-something.
And I do too. I mean, just because if you go by the averages, he's averaging more than 50 since the comment. But to me, I think the other thing that jumps out at me when I look at his numbers is his passing grades have gone up. So it's not like he's stealing from one of his skill sets to put a spotlight on one or the other.
Right.
It's the skill set that he used most to become Justin Fields is now enhancing his other skill set.
It seems to be, yeah.
So I would think that the Bears know that. The Bears are going to continue to say, run where you think you can run. And if he continues to put up those numbers, I don't know if the Browns going to have a 60-yard runner just because when was the last time they did?
Yeah. That might be something they try to do.
The Colts game the last time they had a 60?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm asking that question rhetorically, but I think it probably was, Bull. I mean, they just haven't. They haven't had that. They've had. I think against Denver, Ford was averaging like 9 yards a carry. I think he had 12 carries for over 50 yards, but I can't remember if he went over 60.
Well, I'm going to look it up right now.
So I would just think just on the law of averages and the way things have been going the last couple of weeks, and also we talked about this yesterday, the Bears ranked 30th in pass defense. So I'm not going to blame the Browns this week if they're more pass heavy than run.
Jay, I was going to listen. I got
Jerome Ford did have 65 yards against Denver.
That was the game that they just didn't use him enough.
I might, you know what,
right?
McNuggets, listen.
Like
9 for
carries?
65.
I might actually take
9
that
for
back.
65, wow.
I might actually take that back. I got a feeling, I don't know why it popped in my head. I got a feeling that Joe Flacco will mess around and throw this one almost 50 times.
Well, G. Bush, that leads us right to our next one. So let's
Real
get
quick,
to our
Mike,
second question. Yes.
Real quick. Jerome Ford, last 6 games, yards per carry. You ready?
Yeah.
2.2, 6.3, 2.6, 7.2, 2.1, 4.3.
So
Ping
on and
pong
off.
back and
It's
forth.
up and down.
Yeah.
That
Go
does
ahead.
bring us to our next question. This is a running-passing combo for Justin Fields against Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco is 565 yards in 2 games. Will he throw for more yards on Sunday than Justin Fields accumulates total yards? So Joe Flacco passing yards versus Justin Fields total yards. Gee, I guessed for you on this one. And I'm guessing after hearing what you said, I guessed wrong. But Jay, Earl, Ty, and Bull said yes. Jason, myself, and I guess G would say no. But G, it sounds like you're flipping to the yes side of the fence.
Yeah.
You want to start and tell us why?
I think Kevin Stefanski showed at the end of the game he was excited, or super excited. He had Joe Flacco. Now, mind you, I started this out to everybody. He's only been practicing 2 weeks. That means he's had a handful of times to talk to Joe Flacco. This is going to embolden Kevin Stefanski. He's going to say this. My best chance to beat these teams coming up is I'm just going to bet that my quarterback's better than yours. I'm just going to bet that I could just come in and throw it on you. Because until you prove me wrong, every week he throws for more yards. This is really what I want to run anyway. I think Kevin Stefanski, when you go down the back, he's going to, and this is crazy to sound like this, he's going to put 4 games after all these injuries and the running and stuff. He's putting this on Joe Flacco's arm. I'm going to let you know that right now.
I got Joe Flacco with 255 yards throwing, and I've got Justin Fields with 237 yards total.
Wow, you
That's
got really specific.
Close. Yeah.
Sure, it's not 238.
Not 238, 237, maybe 237 and a half. But
If he
that's
hits-
not official.
You can imagine if he hits both those numbers
If
on the
he
head.
hits both those numbers on the
Can you
dot,
write those down, Mike?
I'll shave
I will
my
write it
head
down.
on the
I'll give you
show.
$100, Bull.
I'll live. I'll shave
give
my
you
head on the
$100
show.
bucks.
Jay's going to shave his
Jay's
head on
gonna
the
shave
show.
his head, Bull. You get $100 from me if you get him.
What I say, 255 and 237, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, not 238.
He
not
had 238,
236,
but he took a
237.
loss on a kneel down.
That's right. Big kneel down.
I think Flacco's going for 300.
I do too.
I just think the Bears' pass defense is that porous. And he's on a roll.
This is the most optimistic. I heard Jay, and I've been here 3 years. I ain't never heard him call out of 3 bills.
Well, we haven't had a guy that I thought could do it.
He did. You said that with your chest. 3 bills.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be surprised if he doesn't throw for 300. Look, I mean, the hay's in the barn as to what they're going to do with Joe. The last 2 games, they've thrown it 65% of the time. So if they do that again, and I expect they will, I just think he's been accurate enough, picking the right receivers enough, finding holes, and putting them in the right play. I think he's done that a number of times. And so I expect him to get 300. I think a good game for Fields passing is 200 yards. And even if he gets that and he averages his rushing yards, which is about 50 a game since he started running it more, I got him at 2.5. And Flacco's got 300.
Beautiful. All right, we're going to go to the next one here. Let's go to the battle of receivers, the battle of number 2s. Will DJ Moore have more receiving yards than Amari Cooper? Bull, Jason, myself said yes. J, Earl, Ty, and G said no.
Why
you wanna
did you
start?
call them number 2 receivers?
Yeah.
They both wear number 2.
Oh,
Like they physically wear number 2 on their jerseys. They're number 1 receivers on the team.
I thought you were saying the team's
No.
number
They
2
both
receivers.
wear-
I'm like, what? Who's better than
Got
Moore?
it.
Who's better than
No,
Cooper?
they both wear number 2. I
Okay.
should have clarified.
So they're
that.
both the proverbial number 1s and wear number 2.
Correct.
Yeah.
Bull,
Yeah.
why do you say yes?
I just think Joe Flacco, Amari Cooper hasn't been at his best recently. He's had some drops. He's had dealing with some injuries. And Joe Flacco obviously has some chemistry with Elijah Moore, so he looks for him a lot.
He does.
He's also looked for David Njoku a lot. Whereas I think in the passing game, Justin Fields really focuses on DJ Moore. Some with Cole Kmet, but I think Flacco's more into spreading it around right now. And I think Cooper will have a fine game, but I think DJ Moore, like I got Justin Fields with like 190 passing yards, and I wouldn't be surprised if 100 of them were to DJ Moore.
Wow. Big game for
Man,
Moore then.
I think Amari Cooper's playing injured. You could tell like he's a man of very few words. I think he's battling internally with it. Just came off the concussion, but if you just look at it, if Amari Cooper just catches the football that are thrown to him, he's around 80, 90 yards a game. If he just catches the football, which he's been probably a guy during his career who's done a good job catching the football.
Recently, he's had the drop season.
He's had and the fumble was really concerning.
Yeah.
And it's because it just seems like he
That was
doesn't-
weird, though, because it came at the perfect time. He
Right,
was
he was
changing
changing
hands,
hands, yeah.
and it was just one of those fluky things.
But he always seems to have that receiver knack for just your body. You're not thinking about it. Your body just does it. You just feel the presence, right? You feel the pressure, and you say, okay, instead of switching arms, I'm gonna handle with 2, or be by the sidelines. It just seems like he hasn't had that instinctual, catching the football and moving.
That's
So
fair. I think he's hearing steps. I think a couple of weeks ago when he took the big hit, then the next week he played, and the ball hit him right in the hands, and he dropped it because he felt like he knew the defender was closing in on him. I think I call it PTSD for a receiver.
Yeah.
When after they take that big hit over the middle or that serious shot that rings their bell, they start to hear things and they start to see ghosts. And I think he's gone through a little bit of that. But for me to accurately answer this question, I'd have to be able to answer a question that I don't have the answer to, and that's Denzel Ward's availability. If Denzel Ward plays, then I don't think that DJ Moore has a huge day. Who has a huge day when Denzel's on him?
Nobody.
The problem is, I don't know if he's going to play. And
Chicago's
because of
cornerback.
that, I just can't answer this.
Now, here's how I feel about this too. Denzel Ward. Hey, listen. If Denzel Ward is out there, he ain't getting no yards. But if they put Martin Emerson on him, he ain't getting no yards either.
You have that
It's
high
not like
regard.
they're shutting out receivers every week.
I mean, Martin Emerson played one of the best games I've seen a corner play in a long time. Granted, they don't got superstars out there. But this guy, listen, he was in run support. He had 3 or 4 pass breakups, like deep balls. He then got 2 interceptions. And it was not like it wasn't Calvin Ridley and Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
We're going to talk about it tomorrow, but Jalen Johnson, the Browns cornerback, is actually
Bears.
the #1 graded PFF cornerback in the entire
The Bears.
NFL.
Yeah, Bears.
The Bears, excuse me. Denzel Ward and Emerson, who both have played phenomenal this season, have graded out in the PFF for their season grade 70 and 68. Johnson's a 91. So we'll see what that actually translates to on the field. That's going to be something we talk about tomorrow. Next fence rider question. Gee, I guess for you, just for the sake of it not being unanimous, I don't think this is an accurate guess. I hope I'm wrong. But will Myles Garrett snap his 3-game sackless skid versus Chicago? Gee, because you didn't answer, I made you sit on the wrong side of the fence here with a no. Everyone else said yes. That's punishment for not answering sooner.
I think
Because he would not answer that way.
Yeah, could I see it happening?
Of
Sure.
course.
If they continue to let him hold him, if they continue to let them chip and then hold and grab and stuff. But I think Myles Garrett, I'm just not going on the record. It's not like an earth-shattering thing. He's going to get a couple holding penalties.
I think Miles struggles at the acting. He's got to be a better actor.
Yeah, we saw that melt reel. You could tell. I'm like, his flops are not very good.
No, he's got the guys who get the call, the hands go up, and they do a spin around.
Yeah.
You got to do the spin around
He
with
did
the
that
hands
a couple
up.
times, but I thought it was late.
Yeah, he's doing it
You know,
right.
he does it when he knows the play is over, and then he does it.
Right, it's too late.
You're not going to get the flag then.
As soon as it happens, hands up.
Yep.
Spin, and you got to do the big guy spin around.
The hands up spin around is the same thing that your
Pirouette.
mom. The same hands up spin around is what your mom do when you doing school clothes. Hands up spin around.
Yeah, that's right.
You got enough room in this?
Yeah, right.
You're like, yeah, mom. Yeah.
I think that Myles Garrett is very smart. By the way, surprisingly, I haven't heard about it. He wasn't fined.
I didn't hear nothing about
Nor was Andy Reid.
Interesting.
Or Patrick Mahomes. And here's my takeaway from that, and I'm glad we kind of stumbled into that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
When the league knows it's wrong, it's less likely to fine a guy. Now, in the cases of Patrick Mahomes,
They weren't wrong.
it's right there. Now, I watched a great discussion on the NFL Network this week about that call. Somebody went through every play of that game. He lined up offsides
Like 5 times.
4 times. 4 times. One was even more egregious. They also pointed out, and this was something that I wondered when I saw that freeze frame of the blue line, and referees will not stop the play and move the ball if the center moves the ball backwards. There's no advantage to that. It does change the actual line of scrimmage, but they'll let that go. And they talked about this in the conversation on the NFL Network. He clearly picks that ball up and moves it backwards. That changes the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, who
Not
got
to the
called for
wide
that?
receiver. Now, they also showed they had a great angle, and you guys probably saw this. They had a great angle down the line of Tony doing this and never getting confirmation from the official. He did that 9 times in the game, and at no point did he ever look at the official long enough to get the thumbs up.
Right.
So in other words,
You can't just signal.
no, you can't.
Yeah.
It's like the hitter in baseball calling for time and stepping
Right.
out.
No.
You call for time, then you get time.
That's right. If you don't,
And
you're out of luck.
The part of the conversation I most enjoyed was the part that I was wondering about, and you'll know this from when you play. The letter of the law in baseball is the armpits to the knees.
Right.
Well, anybody that watches baseball knows that's not the strike zone.
No.
Right.
And they made the comparison in that instance of him lining up on the line of scrimmage. There were guys that have played in the league that were part of this discussion that said that happens 10 times a game for every team. It's not called. The fact that they decided to call it in that moment, everybody on the panel thought was wildly egregious. The NFL was overreaching. It would be like that, you hear this all the time. There's holding on every play, if you find it.
Now, I would agree, and I agree with them because usually what the league does is they go out after it's over and say, look, these guys been doing this all year. It's getting egregious. And then they come in the preseason and say, there's an emphasis on lining up correctly.
Yes.
We will be calling that.
But you can't change it
But
midstream.
you can't
I know,
do
but
it
why
now.
is he lining up off sides every play? I don't understand.
They talked about that.
Because of the ball being moved
The ball
back?
kept being moved back, and the officials were letting that go.
Yeah.
Now, and it wasn't that much. It looked like it was about 4 inches that he moved the ball back.
They got Ethan Poaches on that earlier this year.
Well, for moving the ball forward.
Right,
They
moving
will
it.
stop the play and flag it in that instance. But in the panel discussion, they said that happens all the time. It's basically a center coming up to the ball and then realizing it's not in the proper position, but now he can't move his feet.
Right.
So he hunches the ball backwards. They're not going to call that.
Right.
It'd be like shooting a free throw from the three-point line.
You want to back up on a free throw? Go ahead. But
real
don't
quick,
step
we have-
over the line.
We have a Didi, and you guys didn't answer. Jay, will Myles Garrett snap the skidless sack streak? Yes or no?
He will get a sack, and my roundabout way of getting to that was I think the reason that Garrett, Mahomes, and Reed didn't get fined is because I think the league is aware that they've not been great in these instances, so they chose not to fine them. But it was brilliant for Myles Garrett to say it because now every official that watches him this year is going to be looking for the hold.
Right.
Are
Yes
we
or no?
missing it?
Yeah.
Yes or no
100%.
for you, Bull? You said yes? Just for the record, yes, Myles gets a sack?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, we're going to resume Fence Riders when Bernie comes on. But right now, we have Aditi Kinkhabwala joining us, and she's brought to us today by FanDuel. If you're a new customer that want to get in on any of the sports gambling action, the NFL offers on FanDuel stay red hot. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than right now. The app is easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL, an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And with that, let's welcome in Aditi Kinkhabwala, the #1 sideline reporter in the entire NFL.
I gotta start you off with Didi to get you in there. I want your opinion on this too.
You're not going to ask my fence riding question? I don't get a vote.
No.
Do it rapid fire. After G's question,
Yes.
let's rapid fire for Aditi the questions we've already
Do
asked.
you believe that there are times in a game where you can't make that call? You're like, hold on, you can't call me off sides right there. That you can't make that call or pass interference
on a Hail Mary.
And a Hail Mary. Do you believe it's the letter of law, or is it you got to wait to see what's going to happen during the game?
I'm going to put pass interference on a Hail Mary outside the box because that's a very unique situation, but I think you have to call everything consistently. If you don't call it in the first quarter, how can you call it in the fourth quarter? If you do 100%. Call it in the first quarter, how can you not call it in the fourth quarter? Yeah. And that's what players
so right.
Every crew is different. Every official is different. That's why some teams hire officials to give scouting reports on the officiating crew they're about to see. What all you can ask for in a human endeavor like officiating is consistency.
Yeah, it's like an umpire changing his strike zone in the 9th inning.
Exactly.
You can't do that. And I think that was Mahomes' point. That was Reed's point. And Aditi,
I disagree on that. I think that was so far offsides, and Torrey Smith actually said it best. I mean, it was absurdly offsides. You're a grown man. If you don't know that you are that far offsides, and if you actually watch the film, he's not really checking. It's almost like, hey, I'm
he
looking
just
at
put
you,
his
but
fist
I'm
out. Yeah, he went through the motion, but he never got confirmation that he was okay. I was talking about the NFL film or the NFL Network segment. I don't know if you watched it, but their conclusion at the end of this long discussion after they showed play after play after play after play where he was lined up in what technically was past the line of scrimmage, one of the things they pointed out was that the Chiefs center was consistently moving the ball backwards a little bit, and it was almost not, I don't want to say a habit, but it wasn't uncommon for him to do that. They said that changed the line of scrimmage. They also found 3 or 4 instances where receivers for the other team during the game, Buffalo, were also just as offsides, and it wasn't called. So I think Reed and Mahomes' point is kind of what we're saying about the umpire calling strikes in the 9th inning of a game that weren't called strikes in the fourth, fifth, third inning of the game.
Be
consistent.
They've gotten the benefit of the doubt of a million
Oh,
goals.
listen,
Nobody feels sympathy for them.
No, and it's funny because Patrick Mahomes is one of the biggest benefactors of bad missed calls.
Yeah, exactly.
We won a Super Bowl for crying out loud on questionable calls.
That's right.
But all of that being said, I found it interesting that the league didn't find these guys because in the past, Aditi, correct me if I'm wrong, you whisper about a bad call and you were writing a check.
Oh, and I mean, how many times have we heard coaches say, I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to be fined?
Exactly.
I think that this year the narrative about officiating has really just hit a fever pitch.
I agree.
And I don't know that it would be a very smart move to increase attention on officiating by meting out big fines that would then become headlines again.
It's definitely a change in policy by the league, for sure.
Aditi, we just did 5 fence rider questions. I'll ask them to you rapid fire. You give us the answer. You ready?
Okay. Here we go.
Number 1.
Ready.
Will Justin Fields have more rushing yards than any individual Browns running back this week?
No.
Okay. Number 2. Will Joe Flacco throw for more yards than Justin Fields has total yards, rushing and passing?
Yes. Although my guy Jaquan Brisker is with the Browns and he's a Pittsburgh guy and he was so cute to my kids, but anyway, still, yes. I'm on the joke.
Number 3, will Myles Garrett snap his 3-game sackless skid?
Yes.
Number 4, will the Browns have 3 receivers? Oh, we didn't do this one.
We didn't get to that one. I skipped one to make sure we got DJ.
Should I give this one to Aditi or skip it?
You can give it to her. We'll do it after.
Okay. Will the Browns have 3 receivers with at least 45 yards versus the Bears? 3, including tight ends. 3 pass catchers.
Does it have to be receiver or pass catcher?
No, pass catcher.
Any pass catcher. 3 pass catchers.
Yes. Yes.
Will
I mean, if
DJ
Flacco's going to
Moore...
have that many yards, somebody's got to catch the ball, right?
That's true. Will DJ Moore have more receiving yards than Amari Cooper?
No.
Wow. I guess you think the Browns are going to win because you got the Browns in all these. Will DTR take at least 3 snaps in this game?
No.
He took, 1 last week?
Yeah.
He took 3 last week.
Oh, was it 3?
He did take 3?
I didn't realize it was 3.
He
Jeez,
handed it off to Kareem Hunt. He had the sweep to the left.
Yeah.
And he was also in for another Wildcat play.
But did he take the snap on that play?
Well, he was in the game. Like, will he be as part of the game for 3 snaps?
Yeah.
Because
he did.
Well, that's
take the
different than
snap on
taking
that.
snaps.
Yeah, it's
not
different than taking snap.
Will the Brown finally? Who will record more sacks in this game? The Browns or the Bears?
The Browns.
Well, it's a clean sweep.
Yeah, she's definitely got the Browns winning Sunday.
I mean, I feel like I should have hedged a little, right? To be
A little
safer,
bit.
but whatever. I'm all in. Consistency. I'm all in.
I
There
love
you
it.
You
go.
believe? Jay said before we were talking about what Flacco's going to do. I said I thought he's going to have 255 yards passing. I don't know. I don't think G gave a specific amount.
Oh, it's over
What do you
3.
got? So Jay and G got Flacco throwing for over 300 again this week. The Bears are not very good against the pass, or at least they haven't been so far this year, and they lost one of their 2 best pass rushers in Ngakoue. Do you think Flacco has another 300-yard game this week?
I think that I have never, and remember, I've covered Joe Flacco basically since he's been in the league. I covered him so much in Baltimore, maybe more than anybody other than a beat reporter that lived there. I've never seen him have so much fun. I've never seen him play so loose. I've never seen him play so free. I've never seen him play with, it's all that cumulative experience. It's all those cumulative reps. That's all that wisdom that he now has. It's the crunch time. Remember, Joe Flacco put together arguably one of the best playoff runs of the last, 15 years, that year that they won the Super Bowl. All of that is coming into play right now. His body is fresh as it can be for an almost 40-year-old. He knows how fortunate he is to play with a defense like this, a run game like this, a line, even as sort of beat up as it is, but with the guards that he has. I think that I'm just really, really bullish on what Joe Flacco can do for this team right now and what a fit he is in this particular moment for this particular group.
It is amazing.
It's
Indeed. Like,
what do they call it? Flacco fever. I have Flacco fever.
You do have Flacco fever. It is crazy. Like, and who knows how he'll do the rest of the year? Maybe he'll fall apart because he's 39. I don't know.
They had Dobbs fever in Minnesota a couple weeks ago.
Right. So who knows?
But right now, let's ride it while we can.
Right now,
Hell yeah.
I see the way he's played these 2 games, and I'm like, I don't understand why nobody called him the whole season. Can you explain that?
Well, I mean, this is the nature of the whole quarterback thing. I mean, there's no position that has more groupthink or wrong assessments. And you guys know I love Josh Dobbs. He's one of my all-time favorites ever. But Joe Flacco has a body of work and a body of experience that Josh Dobbs never had.
Yeah, I'm
So
just
I don't
warning
think it's
against. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But a couple of weeks ago, Dobbs was the national media darling on their national TV game.
Of course.
And now he's back on the bench. Difference between he and Flacco is miles and years, but it can happen.
But I think the piece about Flacco that, look, he can clearly still sling the ball. He's still got the arm strength. You're never going to question how he can read a defense or make a smart decision, any of those things. The piece is that all those years that he was in Baltimore, one of the knocks on him, it was one of, just like all of us, our best traits are sometimes our most derided traits. One of his best traits is how level and even and calm and all of that he was. Joe Cool, that's who he was. It's funny, it's what we say about Kevin Stefanski. But one of the knocks at the same time was that he was too level and he was too cool and he didn't show enough emotion. And sometimes you need to juice up your teammates with your own emotion. And he's playing with that emotion now. He's telling his teammates, hey, guys, I feel like a 10-year-old kid. Thanks for having me be a part of this. He's showing that smile. He's reveling in David Bell, laughing as he crosses the goal line. All of that is sort of the thing that Joe Flacco once got knocked on. He appreciates this moment and his kids getting to see what he's doing. Sure. All of that, there are a lot of injuries. Everybody has a lot of injuries. I was laughing. Jim Schwartz was saying, how did he phrase it? He was like, this game doesn't care if we have injuries. Well, just a couple weeks ago, the Steelers defensive coordinator was saying nobody gives a bleep that the Steelers had injuries. Yeah, that's the nature of the game. The Browns are so different with Denzel Ward, without Denzel Ward. But let's see what Ronnie Hickman does. I covered him in the preseason when what did he have? He had 3 picks in that one game?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Who knows? Maybe Ronnie Hickman is going to Wally Pip somebody right now.
That's right.
Go ahead.
One of the things that we've talked about is the fact that, the old saying, you don't know what you've got until it's gone. I have theorized that Joe Flacco, who I found this hilarious, had purchased the NFL package. Then I think about
Sunday
this.
ticket.
He purchased the Sunday ticket so he could sit on his couch and watch a season of football
I don't know
games.
why that's funny. I'm sorry.
When I heard it, I laughed my ass off, too. I'm like, wow, now he's actually part of that product. And what I think happened here, because I know that G and I have both experienced it, when you do something for the bulk of your life and it's taken from you, and I was telling G, when I stopped playing baseball, I actually had dreams of putting on my uniform and getting ready to toe the rubber.
Oh.
And I would wake up and I would almost be on the edge of tears because I would be like, I'm never going to do that again.
It's crazy, man.
And when I came back and started playing again, I was like 13 all over again because I had the thing that was probably most important to me in my life outside of my family back in my life. And I wonder if that's what Joe's going through, because he was on the couch for 11 weeks, 12 weeks. He must have thought it's not going to happen.
100%. I think there's a greater appreciation when you don't have something. I mean, look, I feel it this way about my own season. I've been start and stop because I'm sharing my crew with someone. And it's funny because 2 weeks ago, I was in New England in Foxborough in a monsoon in a 6-0 game. I mean, everything. But I had just sat for 3 weeks. And it's so funny that, I think I had according to me, I think I had a monster game. And I had a great time. I had so much fun standing in a monsoon watching some very, very suspect football. But it's because the previous 3 weeks I'd had to sit on my couch and I couldn't do it. So definitely there's a truth to that. But Jay, do we not know, because I haven't asked Joe myself, did he buy whatever the Sunday ticket package is now called because he expected his children could watch him? Because eventually he'd be somewhere in some city out of market. And so that was...
Well, McNuggets has something he wants to add to that. The answer that I heard, I don't think that was part of the answer, but maybe I missed it.
So Joe and Ryan Clark
when I
said
talk to him, I'll be like, Joe,
you dig down on that.
it a little bit differently.
No, I know why.
So we
know the answer.
Seeing it into belief.
Okay,
So
Mike?
he auditioned for Inside the NFL with Ryan Clark.
He did.
He bought it, so
Allegedly.
he knew more
did
about
he confirm that? I know Ryan said that, but did he confirm
No,
that?
but
Did Joe
Ryan,
confirm that?
Ryan's not going to say it on TV if it didn't really happen. I mean, you know Ryan. I know Ryan. When Ryan said it, I took it as gospel. What stunned me was I hadn't heard it previously.
Yeah, so there was
I
that.
think Joe
and I'm
is
assuming he
probably
bought
keeping
it.
his options open. I think it's smart to keep your options open,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
It makes sense.
What,
we're
So,
glad
but
he's here.
McNuggets,
Yeah.
you're saying he bought it as part of his homework.
Yeah.
Like if I'm gonna host Inside the NFL, which is kind of that holy grail one show you want to see,
You better know the
I
teams.
better know everything. I better watch everything. So but I just found it interesting that the man paid for it and now he's part of the product. It's a great story.
Well, you know, Didi, let me ask you this. I've been saying it. I've been trying to get in front of it. I don't like this. I don't like the fact that Joe Flacco is playing well and the fact that he has no contracts. I would offer him a 2-year deal. I'd offer him a 2-year deal right now with a team option.
You want him to come be in the quarterback room, be Deshaun's backup next year?
Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Right now, I'm giving him the contract.
Maybe. Well, maybe.
Aditi, have we ever seen more value in a backup quarterback than this year?
I completely agree with you, and I love the idea of having a veteran backup. You know, like all those years that I covered the Giants, and you had a David Carr who was smart and heady, had been a starter in the league. All these years that the Steelers with Ben Roethlisberger had a Charlie Batch or a Bruce Gradkowski, guys that could really offer value and not just the young buck that you were developing. I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's why I like Josh Dobbs in this room.
Yeah,
It's
when I
why
first
I
said
wish
it, I
that
thought
they-
I was going to get attacked on the set for saying it.
no.
But I have learned my lesson, and I hope the Browns have too.
Right.
You cannot have a backup quarterback like he's almost out of the test tube what you want in a backup quarterback. No diminished arm strength. He's won a Super Bowl. His confidence is off the chart. He's smart enough. His college coach who recruited him was on the show, and he goes, Joe, if nothing else, is a master at assessing the situation. He knows he's not going to come in here and say, this is my team. He's coming in here saying, I'm a placeholder, and I'm going to do the best I can to get this team where it wants to go. He's
Nobody's
a veteran.
giving him
And
a
he's
contract right
also-
now.
And one other
I
piece
would.
to that.
Because someone's going to offer him a contract for next year. Why not us?
He's also, Jay, a good human.
Yes.
He's an Alex Smith who will mentor the young guy behind him, Patrick Mahomes, even though he knows he's losing his job to that person. He's Ryan Tannehill, who's lost his job to Will Levis, but is still helping Will Levis every week. Joe Flacco is not going to sit on the bench and sabotage Deshaun Watson or sit here and say, I could do this better. So I think that's another huge piece of this puzzle as well.
Aditi, last thing, are the Steelers finally done? If
Oh
they lose to the
my.
Colts, the season's over, I think. They're the only team of the group of 11 that looks like it's going in the wrong
This
direction.
feels like Groundhog
I
Are
mean,
they
they're
finally
definitely-
going under 500? What do you say?
In that group of 6 to 11, yes, the Steelers are most definitely the worst in that group to 6 to
agree.
11. Again, remember, I'm married to a Steelers fan. He gets angry every single time I say this, but this is an organization that needs some reset. That does not mean running Mike Tomlin out of town. It just means that you need, and I was on the radio yesterday saying this here in town, Mike Tomlin may be A through X. He is not Y, he is not Z. And so strong ownership needs to address Y and Z, and then you'll have who you want. A through X is a heck of a lot better than just about any coach out there, but the things holding the Steelers back right now are Y and Z. The only person that can change Y and Z are the Steelers owners. And Adam, you and I were both in the New York market when John Mara went to Tom Coughlin and said, we love you for all of these reasons, but the strict Martinet you are, the fact that you are not showing your players who you are as a grandfather and creating that connective tissue, that's got to change or you're not going to still be here. Tom Coughlin took that under advisement. He changed, and then he won 2 Super Bowls in, 4 years?
Yep.
The same thing needs to happen in Pittsburgh, and I don't know that it happens if the Steelers, once again, back into the playoffs and lose in the first round.
Right. They do have to take that step back before they take that step forward in the macro.
I mean, look, Russell Wilson said it to me earlier this year, week 2, we had the Broncos, and Russell Wilson said, as awful as last year was, he sat here and he thought, you know what, if you want to climb another mountain in life, you need to get back down in the valley. You have to come down
Yeah.
off of one mountain to climb another one. Mountains aren't attached like
That's well said.
So I think there's value in that. And the Steelers have kind of just been middling for, what, a dozen years now? It's a, you know.
Is Aditi doing
it's-
analogies now?
Listen, I
Are
love
you
the
doing,
analogies
you doing
that she just
Christmas
gave.
analogy? What's going on? You
She's
just
kind of like,
I mean, but that was the Russell Wilson one. I don't know if I'm allowed to take credit for that one, am I?
well, but you brought it to the table. She's kind of channeling her inner G. Bush.
She's scheming now.
She's
I like
channeling
the
it.
scheming.
Aditi, have a great
Ryan.
week. What game are you calling this
All right,
weekend?
keep track of my votes. So next week we can assess how
Yes,
right I
we
was
will.
on
Right.
this.
What game do you have this weekend?
Texans and Titans. Somebody please say a prayer to the concussion gods for CJ Stroud.
Yeah,
And
no
for my
kidding.
I'm
fantasy
assuming
team,
he's
so
not
Very
gonna play.
different if the Texans have CJ Stroud, there have been two quarterbacks that cleared concussion protocol in 1 week. Brock Purdy and Derek Carr. So it's not totally
Right.
out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah,
The only reason I don't think he's going to play is because Vegas has the Titans as the favorite. So
yeah.
But that line can change.
I know.
can.
I know.
Aditi, thanks. Have a great call, and we'll see you next week.
Love you guys. Bye.
Love you, Aditi.
Bye.
Thanks, Aditi. We're going to bring Bernie in. While we're doing that, we're going to read some Super Chats. And Super Chats, as always, are brought to us by PCC Airfoils. So if you're looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits, PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up. Plus, full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. We have 3 Super Chats to get to today. Skilly is the first one. He says, I'm sad I'm going to miss everybody tonight. I'm in Columbus for work, but would have loved to have made it out. Any other remote shows scheduled? At the moment, Skilly, no, but if this goes well, hopefully it opens Pandora's box for many more remote shows in the future. Rated R says Strong doesn't have good contact balance. That's why he doesn't get a lot of carries. He goes down on first contact too easily most of the time. And Peter G says Emerson doesn't do well against faster receivers. Notice that's why Newsom and Ward cover the faster guys. Just an observation. The Browns try to protect him, but he does make the most of his opportunities. So those are our Super Chats. And with that, let's welcome in the legend, the man, the myth, the only, Bernie Kosar.
Hey,
Here he is.
as we bring in Bernie, I wanted to just talked about Aditi channeling her inner G. Bush with the analogies. Bernie Kosar is channeling his inner G. Bush with product.
That's
Yes.
what it is.
And watch this commercial. Ready for this? See this? This is Kosar Coffee, and I want to tell you something. You matter.
You man.
And that was dope.
I love that. Huh?
Why is he dropping Bernie's
Jay-
coffee?
Jay-
Fumble.
But you gotta tell them where they can get it, man.
Online.
KozarCoffee.com. Make sure you go check that out.
Bernie,
Kozar
I don't
Coffee.
drink coffee. I really don't. And I've never liked the smell of coffee. This is
love
a
it.
God's honest true story. I'm one of those oddballs that I don't like it. I've never had a cup of it in my life. I don't like the smell. This smells great. And I am not saying that because we're friends. I would tell you if I didn't like the smell of it. I've never smelled a coffee that I like. But whatever's in here,
Well, thank you.
it smells really good.
This is probably, I shouldn't say this, I was that person too. I was the guy who kind of frowned from coffee, stayed away from it.
Right.
You know, I'm starting my, I'm so proud to kind of be in my recovery part of the journey. One of my doctors, Dr. Michael Roizen at the Cleveland Clinic, the founding chair of integrative wellness, been on the Oprah Winfrey Show 53 times, says the number one thing to flush and detox your brain and liver is the black coffee bean. Do not believe in that. I did not drink coffee at all. He says to drink 6 to 8 cups a day.
Wow.
From my old choices of professions.
Is this caffeinated or decaf?
It's both, but the black coffee being caffeinated is one of the main things to flush and detox my liver and my brain. So with the cognitive decline that I've had, this is one of the things that I've put into one of my main part of my modified intermittent fasting. And then,
Been fasting.
yeah,
There it is.
And then, and at this time of the year, it's sunny out today, but we're all vitamin D deficient. So to be able to infuse vitamin D into the black coffee bean.
So that's what you've done?
Yeah, I've infused vitamin D, and because I'm not a drinker anymore, and trying to modulate inflammation, one of the main things to modulate inflammation in red wine is resveratrol, a massive antioxidant. And instead of getting that in wine, I've patented the process to be able to patent and put resveratrol, an antioxidant, and vitamin D in a black coffee.
I want you on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
I do. I want you on Shark Tank. Because they always pitch products like this that are health-based, but it is a big part of everybody's every day. I'd say 90% of adults drink this every day. I think they would love you on Shark Tank.
Well, and you need vitamin D more, as you said, more than anywhere. We get more cloudy days than Seattle does.
Yeah, this time, I mean, seriously, this time of year, it's not here to pitch a product. I mean, this, from the health and wellness with COVID, with the flu season, with somebody like myself that was highly medicated, I mean, to be on a morning show and be decently cognitive, to enunciate, articulate, communicate, I wasn't able to do that years ago. So being able to figure out healthy alternatives and things like optimizing your D level right now, simple kind of things to put your body in a healthy perspective, and a black coffee bean now to kind of flush and detox me, to be able now to be cognitively present. And you know, this time of the year with, you know, we've talked a lot about, just last week there was over 100 people that died in the state of Ohio from the overdose deaths. We will have 22 veterans today commit suicide.
Is that every 22 a day?
Every day. Now, I could have been either one of those two statistics. And to be here cognitively present, and I don't say this to look good, but to show people in this holiday time, this holiday season, that there's healthy options out there to kind of bring you back to life and bring you cognitively present. So on top of it is healthy for me, and it's helped me. Some of the money that we raise with this is being able to be kind of put back into the community and put back into some of my ex-players and teammates and veterans and people that are struggling with some of the anxiety, depression. You know, we've talked about the suicide rates, and some of my teammates and ex-friends, Chagrin High School graduate, Notre Dame graduate, Cleveland Brown, lineman of mine, Bob Dahl, unfortunately committed suicide a couple months ago. So these are tough subjects to talk about at this time of the year, and I'd really rather talk about how awesome Joe Flacco and our Cleveland Browns are trending towards, you know, playoffs for this 2023
That's a good transition, because that's what we want to talk to you about.
You know, because,
by the way, Tracy just texted me and said, I need this.
Yeah, we do.
By the way, forget, he should be on QVC. That's where you need to be. Home Shopping Network with that and that story. By the way, really quickly before we get to the football, this, you can use this with intermittent fasting. My parents do it. I do it. How often are you eating? What's your gap?
So they say 16 to 18 hours off. You know, you don't have to overly do it as strict, and I call it modified intermittent fasting, because food is your medicine, juicing with the Vitamix. You know, I got up to quite a few ho-hos north of 320 back a half dozen years ago. So the coffee and the flushing and the detoxing of it has actually helped modulate my weight loss, too.
You've lost 100 pounds nearly.
I've lost, I'm back down to my playing weight when I came to Cleveland in 1985 at 210.
That's crazy.
So
look great, sound great.
Thank you.
And you feel great, and that's the most important part.
Right, and it's about trying to help out people and bring back this message and join in a wellness community at a time now when, you know, it's easy to want to sit here and say, hey, I'm cool, everything's perfect, everything's going great. We know sometimes that there's people out there at home watching, struggling, that can maybe use a positive message. And not just a message, but some things that you could do simply in your daily routine to give you physical and cognitive health.
Well, Bernie, we got to, like Jay's going to say, we got to get the Browns some of this coffee, because we got 97 people in IR.
Is this crazy?
What are we doing about that?
Yeah, this is a health and wellness potpourri for me.
Have you ever seen a team suffer this kind of roster attrition to injury?
It almost brings me
back. 88 team.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to really show my age here now, but 1988, we had this same type of issues with lots of quarterbacks, lots of injuries. Marty Schottenheimer did an amazing job that year. Coach Stefanski's doing an incredible job. Talking about, I'm going to really show my age, the great Don Strock came here and played really good.
It was amazing.
And to see Joe Flacco, and I'm great friends with Don Strock, and was a direct person involved in that, and know how impressive it was what he did. And it's even more impressive what Joe Flacco is doing. I mean, we sat here last week, and it wasn't me trying to be amplified and be excited for TV right here. I genuinely loved how he was playing and what he did out with the Rams. And then for him to come here this past Sunday and really dominate again and show his clutchness and his confidence in the pocket, his presence. For again, we said last week, being on the couch 2 weeks ago, let me alter it now with my cognitive recovery and say now he's been on the couch 3 weeks ago. Still, to sit in that pocket and have that patience off of that play action pass and make those plays like he's thrown. And with his arm talent being so strong, and then his mental capacity absolutely must really be there because his footwork and confidence in the pocket is so sturdy. So you could tell mentally he knows what he's doing. And he's only been here 2.5 weeks. So the couple with a 38-year-old who still has arm talent with a mental capacity that he's already almost engulfed the knowledge of the offense. His presence back there, it's gorgeous to watch. We're gonna have a fun holiday season here, capping up the 2023 year.
Bernie, they've obviously, they went with the veteran at quarterback eventually with Flacco. They did it with Kareem Hunt. They brought him back. I'm curious your thoughts because you're now down to your third right tackle. You're down to your second left tackle because DeJuan Jones and Jed Wills are out for the year. We were saying yesterday, how about the free agent market there too? Like, okay, especially James Hudson at right tackle seems to be struggling. Why do you think they haven't gone out and gotten a veteran offensive lineman that's been out on the street just like Joe Flacco?
So first, I got to keep saying, I feel like I'm Coach Callahan's marketing rep. Could a guy be doing any better a job? I mean, the depth chart, how far down the totem pole we are in terms of personnel and stuff. And then to see, again, Joe Flacco confidently and sturdy, standing in the pocket. That's a direct correlation to great offensive line play. And I pride myself on knowing everybody's name. I can't even tell you who our offensive linemen are right now, brother. You know what I'm saying?
You're not alone, Bernie.
Right, and we're still sturdy in the pocket and actually dominating and running at will with us to the point where there is no team that wants to. If Myles Garrett and Denzel stay healthy or get healthier, and this line with what Coach Callahan's doing, there's no team that wants to play us, down the road. But to your point with finding street free agents on the line right now, I'm not going to question what Coach Callahan's doing because he's just I think he could put one of us four in there, and he's going to have some moderate success with what they're doing.
I think I'd have to be a center.
Well,
I'm not really built like a tackle.
Could you loan me my weight back?
I'd be happy to give it to you, Bernie.
Bernie, when you look at Flacco, the one question that we've asked is sustainability. He started the season last year with the Jets, had a couple of 300-yard games. The second one, I think one of them was just under 300 yards. He threw for over 300 against the Browns.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're quite familiar with the first couple weeks of the season.
Now, we looked at his numbers, and he really didn't have that precipitous decline that warranted him going to the bench for the season.
He had a terrible game the next week against the Bengals.
It wasn't as terrible as we thought.
It was 5 turnovers.
No, it wasn't. He had two.
It was four turnovers.
Four turnovers, but I think one or two a fumble.
I'll tell you though,
4 turnovers is a terrible game.
I'd have to go back and look at all the individual turnovers, but that was it. He disappeared till the last game of the season. And so I just think that, and Aditi talked about this, how there's groupthink at that position, and how the league just collectively had stamped him as used up and done, and they put him over there. Should we expect to see that big decline, or is this sustainable?
So, coming in towards the end, halfway part of the season, towards the latter, the second half of the year, makes it sustainable, makes it less of a statistical challenge to what you're trying to articulate there.
Just in sheer numbers of games that he has to play, right?
But I also believe, too, and I'm not trying to pick on the Jets, I'm not trying to pick on last year and that stuff, but let's be blunt that the Jets' offensive line was woeful last year, and they're still struggling with those issues, and here we are, albeit we do have injuries on ours. This isn't just Homerville talking about Callahan and the Browns O-line. We've been sturdy and stout in our offensive line, so that is massively different for a quarterback right now. So he isn't taking the hits that he took with the Jets, so we could probably kick the can a little longer on his health being being sustainable with that. So I want to land on the positive side of that, and I actually think him not probably playing and overthrowing through August, September, October is probably going to allow him to be strong and actually, I think, get better as this goes on. So I'm actually excited. I'm actually more excited for it.
Wow. You know, we talk about what Joe Flacco, I told him, I said, listen, the 300 yards he threw for last week, I think he's capable. I think Kevin Stefanski feels like he got to skip some steps. I compare it to, you know, I don't have any children, but it's like being like, hey, I got a 2-year-old, right? We can skip all the diapers, and you just fast forward them all the way till you get to 7 or 8. You're like, oh, I could hang out with my kid then, but forget the terrible twos. It's like Joe Flacco. He doesn't have to tell him where to throw the ball. He doesn't have to tell him what he should be looking at or his landmarks or what coverage.
Oh, he knows the coverage. He knows the reads. Yeah.
He could just come in and say, all right, Joe, what do you want to talk about this week? What do you like? And I think now, would you say he's going to even be more in depth with the playbook because now he's going to find out what Joe likes and where he wants to run.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's part of my optimism with him. He's mentally solid at 2.5 weeks. It's absolutely going to keep getting better as we get going, and his understanding and the relationship between him and Coach Stefanski, Alex Van Pelt, Chad O'Shea, and the play calling and that, with the synergies with the offensive line, and then understanding the checkdowns. You know, understanding that second, third reads even better. It's going to get better, and I'm really optimistic about that.
We've seen him have great chemistry with Elijah Moore. He played with the Jets. I mean, he is looking for him a lot. But Amari Cooper's been a little up and down the last couple of weeks. He's been banged up. He's had some drops. Jay suggested maybe he's feeling the after effects of that big hit he took a few weeks ago. You think he's seeing shadows a little bit, Amari?
So Elijah Moore from St. Thomas Aquinas down in Fort Lauderdale, where my kids went to school. Big fan of him. Look, Amari Cooper is special in what he's been doing, and he's a tough guy. He is taking hits. And those last couple weeks, especially that rib shot a couple weeks ago. So, you know, he's been a tough guy, his hips. I can't believe he's really getting open and making the stats and yak that he's doing right now. So I actually think it's as much, you know, his injuries and him being a tough guy and not talking about it and not wanting to talk about it, more so than Joe not really kind of going that way.
It was just, for me, I saw some uncharacteristic drops, and they came after the big rib shot. And I've had guys tell me that played the position that you kind of get PTSD, especially when you're going over the middle. I'm not saying that those were the source of his drops, but you know, I've had receivers tell me you start hearing things that might not be there after you've taken some of those hits.
Well, hearing things, and then when I was unhealthy with some chronic rib conditions, you know, when you're unhealthy or out of shape, you breathe heavy, you lose a little focus. There's just a natural. It's not at all, I believe, a fear factor.
Right.
But when you're running and tired and you're not used to it and your ribs are hurting, you could lose a little focus in the drop type stuff. That's a real tough one for a receiver to get down there, beat press coverage, get the release, press the technique, get 18 yards, which is 56 feet, come across there, and then have your presence about you. So when your ribs are cracked, he may have cracked ribs and stuff, which you don't want to amplify because now guys are really going to be going.
Sure, you don't want to talk about it.
You know, you tend to have some of those drops.
Yeah.
Hey, Bernie, the last couple of days we've talked about that play from when Leroy Hort. What was it? A 3rd and 30.
3rd and 37.
3rd and 37. Do you remember that play when he ran like 50 yards?
Well, he did that in Minnesota.
He did that in Minnesota, yeah.
Oh, that was in Minnesota. Oh, my God.
He had 3rd and 37 and ran for 57. It's
That's
the
right.
longest third down pickup in NFL history.
I think the reason I thought to ask Bernie is because we talked about the fact also that Leroy has not had 9 receiving touchdowns in a season, which is tied for the second most in Browns history, which is crazy. And he said you would just tell him, hey, just go and I'll throw you the ball.
Oh, so me and Leroy had a great rapport, and I love what he's doing life-wise now in the industry and how he's kept his health and wellness together. And that's part of where I believe Joe Flacco, Kareem Hunt, and what we're talking about as you start getting comfortable in the system and understanding. Me and Leroy had a great rapport. It's just like, bro, go get open.
Yeah.
Okay, he talks a lot. I can listen to him. I tend to talk too much on these shows, but when you're with the mouth, Leroy, you're doing some listening and stuff.
Yeah.
No, so I love him. I know his voice. So we'd have little signals and stuff. So I never had to look where he was at. Matter of fact, I'd purposely not look, and then I'd hear his voice, and I'd just be able to come and throw. And then at that point in my career, I was able to make throws without looking and get him yak and stuff. So that was, and he could catch. Leroy Hoyer could catch like a receiver.
That's crazy you mentioned that.
And Joe Flacco is going to be doing, I know he's going to be doing that. That check downs, what he did with David Bell on that 4th and 2, finding him like that.
It almost seems like Joe Flacco, like, you know, I was watching in the All-22, and it seems like he looks at his first read, and it's like, oh, that's not there. And so he just knows that, like, all right, well, my second read on the progression, that's not going to be there given the coverage. The third, I'm not even looking at that. And he immediately goes to the check down, and he immediately gets it to him. And the cool thing about it is it's like a long run.
It's a glorified, safe run. And he's doing it with such calmness and with such presence. And you hear the Mannings talk about it in the Manning cast, how in zone. And I want to look you guys in the eye, and I don't want to look stupid on air. But, you know, I'm looking up and I'm looking out there. So, and I'll look here at the camera. And I know I'm looking down the field. And Joe Flacco, I absolutely could see that on the snap, he could see the safety. And he already knows it's probably my check down because it's zone. But he keeps his eyes up there, and he allows the backers to expand and allows the coverages to widen, and then he hits the check down. That's when I hit Leroy. Okay, and now you've got space, and now you're able to run. He's going to get he's been good. I think he's going to get better at that right now. And with the way we're running the ball off of that, the play action game and the check down is imperative in front of it. And the way he could read defenses and continue looking down the field, I think it's going to expand those zone coverages and really accelerate the success of the offense.
Man, I'm getting more excited with every statement you make.
Pumping us up.
You always hear commentators say he's like a coach on the field. Troy Aikman has said that about a number of guys. And I think that the general fan might not really get their mind around exactly what that means. Is Joe Flacco a second coach on the field? And how rare is it in today's NFL that you can say that about a quarterback?
Well, it's rare for a quarterback to only be in your house for 2.5 weeks, and he is a coach on the field. So yes is the short answer. Yes is the short answer to it is rare. And yes, we're super blessed to have that gift going on. And we're living this in the present. You know, not to get macro here, but a lot of times we want to worry and we don't live in the present. As an old man here in the late 3rd quarter, early 4th quarter of our life, this century has been a challenge around the holidays to enjoy Browns playoff football and have this optimism on December 14th. Genuine optimism. This isn't F&E. This isn't false enthusiasm. No. This is genuine. We could play football, and there's 31 NFL teams that don't want to play football against the Cleveland Browns in January.
Yeah. The AFC's wide open.
Yeah, there's no way anybody wants to play Cleveland Browns with Joe Flacco and Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward. There's nobody wants to play us right now.
There's still a path to the number 1 overall seed. Unlikely, but it's there. I mean, it could happen.
How funny would it be if I would have told you in September that, you know, maybe the three most important players on the Browns right now, Ward and Myles, okay, fine.
Yeah.
And the third most important player might be, or maybe even number 1, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, is Joe Flacco. If I would have told you that in September,
that'd be crazy.
You would have said, you're out of your mind. What the hell is wrong with you? Are you doing drugs?
That's where we are.
And that's where we are. And
you dipped into my old stash. Yeah, okay, I didn't throw them all away, bro. Come on, man.
I stole it from his house.
Take the coffee, not the bad stuff. All right.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It smells a lot better.
If we would have listed all these injuries at the beginning of the year, we would have thought the Browns would have 4 wins now.
Yeah.
Instead, it's not impossible to think they could go to the Super Bowl.
We kind of backed into it. I mean, he's quarterback number 4. I mean, this doesn't happen if you don't have all those injuries. So sometimes we talked earlier about how, you know, at some point, do you run out of men? Because it's always next man up. Well, are you going to run out of men? Well, the beauty about this, and you'll know this, all the injuries have been opportunities for other guys. And one of those guys is Joe Flacco. and he's capitalized on it.
Yeah.
I have an injury update from today's practice. By
Uh-oh.
nothing new. Nothing
Oh,
new.
thank you.
So no
more IRs.
Yeah, don't
But
scare us,
just,
brother.
Mary Kay said Ogbo not practicing. Neither is Thornhill. Pierre Strong has been added to the not practice list.
So all three running backs.
Ethan Pocic, Jordan Elliott, David Njoku, and Batonio also not practicing, which may mean Ford and Hunt are back. Strong is out. I haven't seen the official report, but that was from Mary
What about,
Kay.
did
And
you say
Denzel wasn't on
Ward?
that not practicing list either, so Denzel's practicing.
Denzel was limited in a very limited capacity yesterday. Expect to be back
Limited.
even more today.
Very limited. Mike's struggling with the language today.
Hey, how about that David Njoku? I got to give a shout out to the way
ahead.
he's been playing. The dominant tight end like that. I mean, catching the ball and the touchdown catches, but the significance of the edge running game that we're doing because look, these tackle situations, and Coach Stefanski, took a lot of criticism in September and stuff. What he's doing with the tight ends and helping to mask the young tackle situation. And then look at Chief is catching touchdown passes, and it goes unnoticed what he's doing in the running game. Boy, we're dominating the edge on those belly plays and those outside runs that Kareem and Pierre Strong and Ford are doing, and that's massively impressive and imperative to the offensive success.
And those check that, and after he's chipping, he's leaking out in the flats, and he's opening the flats.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite things of spending time with him is over the years, back to the Baker days, is talking about what a tight end and back does from learning with my Kevin Mack, Ernest Biner, Leroy Horde, Eric Metcalf days, Ozzie Newsome. Keeping guys in the block doesn't mean you're not going to catch and be a pass receiver. Matter of fact, against zone and or man, if you know what you're doing, you have a way better chance of getting it. So especially in 2-minute drills and especially when you're spread out like that. So to have talked with Chief about that through the course of his career, he's mastered it now. And that synergy that he has with his quarterbacks now, that's going to get better too. As the season comes. And with the bad weather coming and with the running game, we embrace it this time of the year with the running game and play action because that deep throws with Joe's arm, the way he gets things to expand and then hits the check down. Go tackle Chief, Kareem Hunt, Ford in space now. That was the old principles of Leroy Horde, Kevin Mack, Ernest Biner, Ozzie Newsome. This is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Even with these injuries.
Yeah.
We haven't seen the play action. The under center play action is almost like a lost art. It's a dance.
Dinosaur. We're going to see it with the Cleveland Browns now.
We have.
We're going to keep
Something
seeing it.
that's an art form, right? Being able to do that fake well.
Bernie, he
Yes.
reminds me of Boomer Esiason. Boomer carried out the play fake very, very well.
Yeah, I was
Joe's
talking.
got good mechanics on that play, too.
Yeah, Joe must have learned a little bit in his New York days. Boomer rubbed off on him.
Perhaps.
There, yes.
Perhaps, because that's kind of who he reminds me of. We talk about sustainability, and we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but what's the ceiling for this Browns team?
Again, I feel like I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I must be the Browns ownership representative here talking about I don't want to play any other team. I don't want to play the Cleveland Browns in January right now with our running game, with our defense right now. So the ceiling, again, people are going to say I'm just saying this because I'm positive and stuff. I typically off air this whole century.
I've never seen you
Okay,
this.
I have
I've
been,
never seen you
never.
this high on the Browns in the entire time I've known you.
And when the camera's off, I still will be. Okay, the ceiling is we have a chance this year, and as long with Joe Flacco and a healthy Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward, nobody wants to play us right now.
We've been talking. I said after his first start, I know it sounds crazy, but I would offer him a contract for next year.
Oh, yeah.
We've learned.
I already did in my head.
Oh, good. So I'm not crazy. So I know if you.
Yeah, no, he's not going anywhere.
The commodity of the backup quarterback, the value of the backup quarterback this year on what's happened has gone up. Someone's going to offer this guy a job. Why not make it here where he's already got a running start and a little bit of a runway in next season? Look, hopefully we never need him, but the odds are we will.
Yeah.
And he's there.
I Concur. I'd actually take it even a step further. Us veteran quarterbacks, I say the you matter. I talk about self-confidence. I talk about self-esteem. Us men up here, we all want to pretend we're all perfect and always have it. Us QBs, for sure, want to pretend we always have it. I believe Joe Flacco's presence in the locker room and on the team will be really helpful to Deshaun Watson's comeback and his confidence and presence and how he assimilates into this Kevin.
Deshaun can benefit from just
Absolutely.
having him there.
We all could benefit from having Joe Flacco around. Absolutely. And a veteran quarterback, Deshaun, I believe, will be absolutely secure himself in his own position, and having a Joe Flacco around with a Deshaun Watson will be, I think, would be awesome too. Besides it, and then the groom at DTR, I mean, there's a beautiful trilogy right there. So I've already signed them. Okay, so that's
I love it. No,
Bernie,
I
great
love
stuff
it.
as always. Bernie's going upstairs to record a segment for tomorrow, which is going to be really good.
I think me and you are doing a little podcast too, aren't we?
Are you in?
I'm on with you.
All right.
Yes.
We got to work out a time.
You're not free tonight at 7 o'clock, are you?
Actually,
to shut the
tonight
place
I'm doing Toys for Tots.
Oh,
with,
awesome.
Yeah, Hanford and stuff. So I'm so blessed to be cognitively back and present and feeling good and be able to get out this time of the year and kind of give back to people. It's a great blessing.
I love that charity. I've done a lot with it myself. Just Google Toys for Tots. Go to the website. Find out how you can help our chapter here. We are in great need this year.
We'll see you tonight. We're going to be there at the Rock, all of us at 7.
Ozark Coffee. I ordered 3 bags.
Yeah, KozarkCoffee.com. You matter.
See you tomorrow, Bernie.